They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heal wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night Calling Out Corruption. I'm Catherine Page, your founder of Social Change Warriors and your host of our live streams, Angry Bitch Club on Wednesdays, Calling Out Corruption on Thursdays, and on Friday, our new series, every Friday, Friday Night Lies. We're covering the witness testimony from the Karen Reed trial, and we're determining together on Friday nights, did they tell the 100% truth? Were they evasive, or did they downright lie? So we hope you can join us on our new episodes on Friday nights. So welcome back. Thank you to all of you that were with us last night for Ellen Greenberg and her family. I can't thank you enough for that. It was really a great contribution to the chat last night that you gave me. We had some good replay today, thank goodness. I sent it to Ellen's family, and they sent us another email today and thanked us, her mom, Sandy. So if you're watching tonight, Sandy, thank you. And we will continue to stand for Ellen until there is justice for your daughter. And we'll have another episode next week. So tonight, we're going to jump right in. We have a big night, and I hope you feel energized by our theme song that we have been working on. Not me personally, but one of my great admin assistants that's come on board. And once we're done with the video, we will give full credit to that mystery person who is working behind the scenes for us. I feel energized by it. I heard it for the first time today, and it made me feel really great about the work we're doing. It's been a rough week. Our cases are stalled. There's just not a lot of justice happening right now for our families and our victims, and it gets to be tough. I know all of you, we've shared compassion fatigue, which is why we've added Spa Night once a month to our live streams, because we need it if we're going to stand for victims of crimes and calling out corruption. So make sure you come to those if you can make it. We'll announce those, well in advance, but they'll be once a month. So tonight we have a big lineup. It's a triple header. Bases are loaded, guys. We've got Michelle back, who is the sister of Sara Ebersole. Sara has been missing for almost 2 years in March, and there has been just not a lot of movement on her case, as far as we know, because the Marion County Sheriff's Department hasn't been very cooperative with Michelle. And she'll remind us about that tonight and what we could possibly do to help with that. I'm trying. So I have called there many times and we'll keep calling there. So Michelle's going to come up first. We're just waiting for her. She's with her child at a baseball game. So second base tonight, second on the deck is going to be Kara Veach. She's back again with us after live streaming for a couple weeks now, talking about the tragic death of her dear husband, Jason, who was killed at a biker bar here in Volusia County, the county that I live in Florida. Michelle's about an hour and a half to my west over in Marion County area. And Kara's going to give us her updates. Oh, sorry, that was just my backup alarm. Give us some more updates tonight, because we have quite a bit of updates from both Michelle and Sara's case. Just nothing that's helping us with solving or getting justice for them at this moment, but an update's an update. So we want to keep you filled in. Third, and last but not least, up on third base tonight for the triple header and all of our baseball talking right now is our newest case that we just found out about, and we're happy to work with this lovely young woman who is a survivor of many years of domestic violence. And as you know from the Ellen Greenberg case, we do believe domestic violence was involved. And we do know that in the Sandra Birchmore case, who we're also standing for, domestic violence was involved. So it's just a lot more prevalent than anyone really knows or understands. 1 in 3 women will become or already have been a victim of domestic violence. So you will meet Sarah Colleen, and she will be coming on stage last tonight, and she's going to tell us about her horrific and brave journey to survive the last, she'll have to tell you, I have a lot of cases in my brain this week. So I think it's been about 6 years that she's been separated from this person, but he is continuing to stalk her and is getting arrested and put back in jail. Then he gets out, then he breaks the restraining order. It's really a nightmare. So she's going to let us know what that's been like for her, and many other victims of domestic violence go through this circle, this vicious circle of the perpetrator getting arrested, getting out, restraining order, breaking restraining order. It's a constant circle of violence. So we want to see how we can help her and see what we can do to support her. So you're going to talk to these 3 amazing, intelligent, bright women who have all suffered losses, have suffered at the hands of someone else that should never happen. So thank you, everybody, for being here, who's here live with us. And for anybody on the replay, we appreciate you sharing out the justice that we're trying to seek for all of these families. So I'm going to see if Michelle is up there. Let me bring Deidre up and let me introduce her. Deidre has been instrumental in helping us read police reports, autopsy reports. I met Deidre through Shauna on the Gulf, who's over to the west of me. I'm on the Atlantic, and she's fantastic. She's a retired military police officer, and she was also a dispatcher. So she gives a lot of insight into these police reports from both of her backgrounds. For those of you that are new, I am also a retired police officer from Wisconsin. Most recently, since 2017, I have had my master's degree in social work with a concentration and expertise in domestic violence. So I have worked in domestic violence shelters. I have worked in homeless shelters. I lived in LA and worked in what they call Skid Row. I hate that name for it. I always called it the homeless camps, but Skid Row is what most people in the country know it as. So I've got some pretty deep background and expertise in homelessness and domestic violence where they intersect. And then, of course, my years as a police officer. Prior to that, I was in journalism and fundraising. So got a very background. So that's just for those of you that may not have met me yet and it's your first time here, welcome. So I always try to bring guests on that have an expertise and background in something that we need them for to cover cases that involve murder and kidnapping and missing folks. So I'm going to bring Deidre up, let her say hi and just briefly introduce herself. Hi, Deidre. Welcome, Deirdre.
Hi. I know it's Deirdre.
Every time.
I'm Deirdre.
I know. And I think of it as I say it, and then I say deer, because I have a lot of deer in Wisconsin. So I just have to keep thinking of that, right?
Deer, yep.
Yes.
Just one correction. I'm not a retired military police officer. I'm a former military police.
Gotcha.
I'm a retired military wife. My husband's retired. Anyway, and Sean, I met Sean actually 40 years ago and came across him on another podcast in April. And I'm like, hey, I know that guy. And so that's how Sean and I got reconnected, because we used to work together with Arlington Police in Arlington, Virginia.
So you and Sean have a 40-year background.
Well, with a long absence.
But yes, right. It goes back. Well, great. That's great. Julie says SOTG to the dispatch. I love that. Julie's always got something to say that makes me smile, even though we're talking about dark subjects. And we need that, because we can't possibly stand for victims of crimes if we don't keep a little bit of our own sense of humor and a little bit of light, because we can't live in darkness all the time. Then we're going to end up becoming not well, and then we can't stand for anybody. So we have to do self-care. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can stay well, so we can stand for justice for the families. So I'm going to just bring up, add to the stage with us, Deirdre, the deck that we compiled. I make a case deck for every one of the victims that we're standing for and their families. It helps me stay organized. It helps me stay on time. And so, but I'll go back and forth so that you can see us as we discuss. But I do like to use these as you guys have gotten to know me, because I like you to see photos of who we're standing for and everything. That, it just helps to have a visual of the person that you're standing for, and also some of the evidence that we show you. It's good for you to get a visual and not just have to imagine it. These are just our logos for our Wednesdays, which is Women's Night, where we talk about anything to do with women. If you have a topic and you want me to cover it, whether it's, sorry guys, menopause or dating, or nobody can afford insurance anymore, and it's especially hard for women that are single. There's so many topics. We could talk till I'm 85 on all the topics of the world that involve women and have something to do with how they affect women. So that's what we're doing on Wednesday nights. It's called our Angry Bitch Club, where we can buzz around as busy bees and talk about things that make us happy, make us sad, make us feel good. And that's the night that we have our spa night and any other topics that you all want to cover. Thursdays tonight, of course, is our Calling Out Corruption. So these are our logos. Please share them out if you can. When you see them, that really helps us out a lot. Again, we are not monetized. We do not accept donations at this point. We are just trying to do good works. We're all volunteers. So we may consider donations at some point, but it would be something that I would need to consider and work with an accountant for accountability. And we'd have to have a complete budget, because I would want it only to go to program cost only and to victims funds to help the victims with their court costs and lawyer costs and things like that. So that might happen down the line as we grow. But right now we are just trying to do good, and we're trying to help people find justice for their family members. So thank you to those of you that asked me about donations. I will, let you know about that down the line. This is Sara Ebersole. Sara has been missing for almost 2 years. She went missing in Marion County, and it'll be the anniversary of her missing on, I believe it's March 3rd. And I'm going to see if Michelle has joined us. She was at a softball event for her child, so I don't see her in the green room yet. So I'll let you know when she's in. There she is. Good. I can bring her up. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, I lost all Wi-Fi. I don't know what happened. I had to drive down the road.
Oh, yes, that definitely can happen. I'm going to get rid of that banner so we can see you better.
It's like Verizon Tower just shut down.
Wow. Okay, there you are. Anyway, everyone, this is Michelle. This is Sara's sister. You've met her if you've been in our previous live streams. We've been talking a lot about Sara since we met Michelle in October, and done quite a few live streams keeping you up to date on her case. So this seashell that you see is I'm going to let you tell everybody about the seashell, Michelle, because you do it so much better than me.
So people came to me and asked if I wanted to do something like a candlelight vigil or something like that to represent Sara being missing. And I just said no, because that would, make the public think that Sara had been found or located, and she had not. So Sara was really eco-friendly, into the beach. That's all she ever wanted to do, was lay on the beach. So we figured the best way would to do the seashell, to put hashtag Sara Ebersole. So when that shell was found, wherever it's placed, whether it's the ocean, on a trail, or anywhere somebody goes hiking, whatever, when somebody finds it, it's going to last forever. They're going to look it up. They're going to realize she's a missing person. And then this allows Sara to still go on all these adventures that she's obviously not able to do right now, because that's all she really wanted to do, was just kind of explore and travel.
that one just, it gets me every time you talk about it and you say it. I get all choked up because it's just such a beautiful way to honor your sister, and for her to be able to go on travels. Her soul is traveling with everyone to the beach. And I did take one over to my Volusia County beach before I went back to Wisconsin for my knee surgery in November. So there is a shell currently, hashtag Sara Ebersole, on my beach somewhere. I hope someone's found it. I'll take more over. I have so many shells in my house. It's crazy. I love seashells. I'll do some more. I'll have my son and some of the neighbor kids help me write her name, and I'll get on that, because we want to do as much as we can for you in this capacity. It's something we can do. There's so many things we can't do. And it's, as you all know, it becomes so frustrating to not be able to do as much as we would like. So this is something we all can do. So the next time, even if you go like in Wisconsin, like this summer, I'll put some seashells down by the lakes, by my mom's house. So we can put these not just at the beach, we can put them at the beach on lakes too, or even at rivers where people hike, right? They can go anywhere.
It could be anywhere. It can be out in the woods in the middle of the forest, because my sister was kind of valley girlish a little bit, is the only way to explain Sara. So I can just see Sara going, oh my God, guys, why is there a shell by this tree? It doesn't make any sense. But that's just kind of how she was. And she would think that was just so marvelous if someone else found it in a weird spot. Plus someone would also go, why is a seashell in the middle of the woods? They might have saw a cool tree or something that they liked, or a plant they wanted to put it next to. But then when someone finds it, it obviously intrigues them to look up Sara Ebersole. And we did the hashtag toss shells for Sara Ebersole. That way I can go back and kind of see where all these shells have gone. Like someone just sent me photos where they took the shells to, it actually did go to the beach, but they St. Thomas. So they went on a trip out of town, like obviously to the islands. And they've multiple shells throughout the islands.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Well, I wanted to remind everybody that we give out a Warrior Princess of the Week on occasion, and we gave it out to you back in November when we first met you, because of all the countless hours. Let everybody know how many flyers approximately you think you've posted now on trees and places where they let you post them around Ocala and Marion County.
We're about to 2,080 right now, because I just put out more flyers today. And we just had another 700 printed. Wow,
that's amazing. I wanted to just welcome Amber. She might come on with her voice tonight, but she's had, as you all know, if you've been following her on Facebook, her son was in the hospital this week. He had a really bad case of influenza A, but he's better and released. This is their first night home. So we told her, you don't have to be on camera. You can just be in the chat box, keeping everybody company there for us, but we do miss her on the platform with us this week, but we want little guy to get better. So our best and prayers to his continued successful recovery for the rest of the week and weekend. And thanks for everything that you do to support Social Change Warriors, Amber. You're absolutely fantastic. Annette is off tonight. She's having family time, but we are so grateful to have her. She's a former nurse and has a wealth of knowledge when we go over those autopsy reports and the police reports. So thank you, Annette, if you're watching us tonight. So, Michelle, let's talk about updates. I want to remind everybody, first and foremost, if you're on Michelle's Facebook page for her personal Facebook page, she updates constantly. I go there every day to see what she's doing. She's constantly updating. There was a private investigator working on the case. He was working on it of his own accord. I believe he started his own nonprofit or something to that effect, right, Michelle?
Yeah, he did.
And he's no longer working on the case. Michelle does not need his help or want his help. There were some issues. So if you if you're contacted by someone who says they're a private investigator, do not give them any type of time. Make sure you can either let me know, you can email me, or you can let Michelle know on her Facebook page. And I'm also on Facebook, so you can find us on Facebook too. But definitely don't give any information to this person. They're not working in the best interest of the family any longer. So
yeah, if there's a tip or a lead, it should just go straight to Marion County, or
right.
Obviously like an avenue like you, not obviously through that person, because they're not
right.
getting these tips.
Correct. So, and I didn't actually necessarily mean you should give me a tip. I meant if this PI contacts you somehow, let Michelle know. If you want to let me know, you can, and then I'll let Michelle know. But we definitely, any actual tips, you definitely want to call the Marion County Sheriff's Department. So this was the poster that you have been posting all around, correct?
Well, we've actually updated it. It jumped from 11,000 to 16,000, and then within 5 days, we're at 20,000 from that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wow.
I think you sent me that. I'm sorry I didn't get that put in here.
No,
The
you're fine.
update. I
So
will definitely do that.
we just revamped a few flyers. We still have this one with Sarah and her daughter for the 20,000. There's one with Sarah and Tyrone actually on there from the media release photos that were used. Since
Okay.
Marion County has released his name as the person of interest now on the official flyer that I was sent. So we've
Okay,
also
good.
printed those official flyers.
Perfect. So this is the photo that was put up on, I believe, did you say it was on, was it Instagram or was it TikTok?
Well, I have this on TikTok, but this came from Sarah's iCloud. This was the first
Okay.
photo she took at 10:11 p.m. on March 2nd, 2023.
Okay. So on March 2nd, 2023, we knew she was still alive and well because this photo was in her iCloud and you found it there later, correct?
Right, about 8 months later. And then all of these are, even though they look still frame, they're all like 3-second videos.
Got it. Okay. So Sarah went missing effectively on the 3rd because there was, once Michelle got a hold of her phone records and there was activity, right? Was she on YouTube? Is that what you said?
Right, but I didn't have her actual phone, so I don't want people to think I physically have the phone.
Right.
The phone's missing. So I was digitally able to get on Sarah's iCloud and Gmail, Instagram, things like that. And the Gmail showed me that there was YouTube activity until 2:40 a.m. on March 3rd. And then her phone synced at 2:57 a.m. on March 3rd. That was the last access. But we just don't know where she was when she was watching YouTube. It was music videos. She was playing music.
Right. So we know she was still probably alive at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was March the 3rd. So that evening, just for all of you that haven't come to any of our live shows, you're welcome to go into our library and you can watch the detailed live shows. But we're just going to give you just a quick background before she gives us her updates, is that Sarah was hanging out and partying with some people she had met that night. They had gone to a house party and they met at the Circle K gas station. They were all getting supplies of different sorts. And she got invited to go to a house party, which Michelle says wasn't unlike her, to hang out, meet new people, go to a party if she was invited. And these were local people. The house was literally down the street from this gas station. It wasn't like she was driving 60 miles with strangers. It was a house right down the street. I kind of debated back and forth with Michelle that I think maybe she knew them from before, or maybe she recognized them. That was just my thought, but it's not really relative to where she is now and finding her, because we know that where this house was located, like I said, was right down from the gas station. So in our map, this is the Highway 441, which is in Marion County. It's north of Ocala, or wait, no, I'm sorry. It's east of Ocala, right, Michelle?
Oh, don't make me do directionals.
Yeah, it's near Ocala, guys. That's all you need to know. It's a small
30 minutes from Ocala.
Right. This little town was called Reddick. It's a very small, little tiny little blurb, little tiny, you're in and out fast. If you blink, you miss it. One of those little burgs, as my dad used
on the way to Gainesville, Florida.
Right. So she was met up with these people and they were partying at this house. And this is a truck that was on the missing flyer just until recently. Correct, Michelle?
Correct.
So that was one of the problems that Michelle was having, is that Michelle actually located this truck and took this photo and supplied it to the police department herself, acting as a mini detective of sorts. And she located this truck on April 10th of 2023. Sarah's missing flyer was still not updated until just a couple of weeks ago, after we did our last live. Lo and behold, Michelle gets a call or an email. You got an email, right?
I got an email because I was requesting again by email for the Marion County Sheriff's Department to update the flyer because it had been so long with just the blurred image from the surveillance on it. Right. And after your interaction and then CBS also reaching out in regards to my petition about the flyer, Marion County then in turn emailed me back. And then the next day the flyer was updated, but they told me I had to request it from the public service officer. I called, left voicemails, no one called me back. And then I just saw that they sent it to me in my email.
And same thing, I called as well and said that I heard via you that the missing flyer had been updated and that I wanted to know why it hadn't been distributed to the public yet, why it was still only in-house and only in your hands, and no phone calls back. I've left messages with the detective, with the information officer, since November. Nobody's ever called me back from the Marion County Sheriff. Now, it is an open investigation and I'm not anybody to them, but I would think that for politeness purposes, they could just call me back and say, we're sorry, we cannot help you. You're not family. goodbye, instead of just completely ignoring me altogether. So this truck was no longer considered, this person or this truck was no longer considered a person of interest or a vehicle of interest, but yet it was on the missing flyer that had been sent out to the media and put out from the Marion County Sheriff and never had been updated. So during this time, Michelle kept getting people private messaging her, contacting her and saying, I saw the truck. So we've got these concerned citizens trying to help out locate this person in this truck. Maybe some of them were concerned about this person. And so that to me was a real ball drop by the Marion County Sheriff, how they could let a truck that they knew was found continue to remain on a missing flyer. It makes zero sense to me and seems like a really shoddy situation. So this map shows where the person of interest was located. These are all old addresses. Nobody's at any of these anymore. So we're not.
Yeah, no, Tyrone Mormon still lives at the address.
Oh, well, then we're going to get that. Well, we won't leave that. We took that off the screen because I don't want to dox anybody that we don't.
Oh, well, it's not his full address listed for him.
Ah, good.
Just
okay.
with the generalization.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Smart, Michelle. So this was the house, correct, where they were having this party, correct?
Right. So the house actually sits on a 1.2 acre parcel, and then there's a 5 acre parcel behind it that's a little more cleared.
Right. And this was just a rental property that these people that she was partying with were living in.
Well, it's kind of a complicated situation. Technically, Tisha McDermott's family owned this property at one point, grandparents kind of thing. It was mixed up in some type of legal battle kind of between her and the aunt and the uncle. She thought she could take kind of possession of the house, and the grandparents had passed, and aunt and uncle were trying to fix the house up and sell it. I think she had moved in with her boyfriend, James, and then James Robertson moved in kind of then renting almost. But they was more like a squatting situation is what I get from the family. They were trying to get them off to sell, and they ended up foreclosing on the property once they moved. And it was sold kind of pre-foreclosure to a local individual commercially, and then it sold a second time to someone else local commercially.
Okay. And how long did it take before law enforcement was able to interview these people that she partied with and discount them as persons of interest?
So when Marion County was speaking to like James Schaller and things, I was at my sister's house almost at the end of April of 2023 when they finally came to look at Sarah's house and to walk through it, because that's all they really did.
Right.
At that point, James Schaller had provided me with photos from inside of the house from his device already by text, and I provided them to the detective then, and he didn't have those photos. So I don't know if he had even talked to James Schaller at that point, because James Schaller called law enforcement to say, hey, this girl that's on this flyer that her roommate made, like a handmade flyer, was at this house hanging out with us. He called law enforcement himself, and they did not dispatch anybody. He said they only called on the phone. I know that from an email I recently received from Marion County Sheriff, they stated that they interviewed James Robertson 3 times for approximately 5 hours total for those 3 interviews, and that it was the 8 to 10 month mark before he mentioned Tyrone Mormon to them. So I don't know when they started interviewing him.
So for literally 8 months, basically your sister's case was practically cold because they hadn't even interviewed the people that she was with that night.
Right. It took them quite a while just to get bank records. That was like the first thing they started with, and it took them, felt like months.
Has that property been searched?
It has. So I actually had it searched. Marion County Sheriff would make statements to me like when they thought maybe an Uber had picked her up or just, a driver, but they kept thinking maybe it was an Uber at that point because James Robertson had not given Tyrone's name, and the other 2 individuals didn't know Tyrone personally. They just gave a description. The detective would say things like, oh, they might be sending us down a rabbit hole. The driver's story may not even be real. She might just be unalived on that property. So when we reached December of 2023, I got property owner permission myself from the new owner after the second sale. And I had Marion County Search and Rescue, a team of volunteers, go to the property and search it with 3 sets of cadaver dogs. And to be thorough, I actually had them go to my sister's home 2 miles down the road and search her property as well. So we could tell the public that we had cleared each property. Now the dogs did hit on one area of the property on something, and Marion County Sheriff then in turn had to come. It was marked off with spray paint, and they were there for 48 hours, almost 72, They blocked off the property, roped it off. They kept a deputy overnight on the property, and they brought in heavy equipment, even digging up portions of the property. But the whole property was skewed with trash. I mean, like 4-foot holes with trash being buried, glass and trash everywhere, like bags had just ripped open for almost a whole acre of that property.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and this is a little delicate, but have they taken any DNA from her daughter or from you?
No, I've told them I would provide DNA, and no DNA has been taken from me. And as for her daughter, her child's father has kind of been running from place to place, state to state, and eviction from eviction. So I can assume that no DNA has ever been taken from her.
If there's a source of DNA for her, it's important that that be entered into NCIC, because if anybody comes across her remains, unidentified remains get entered into NCIC. And if they're entered in on both ends, that's how you're going to find a connection. So it's
Right.
important.
And I've asked for them to take my DNA without them setting any of that up. Now, I know when they came to my sister's house, they did take one of her Smile Club retainers, when you're kind of working on your teeth to be straighter. They took a set of those retainers, and my sister had recent dental work done, so it won't be DNA, but they would know what her dental records would have looked like, at least if her remains were found. And I provided that to Marion County Sheriff because she had the dental work like 3 months before she went missing. She had a wisdom tooth removal.
Okay.
But they never took any of my DNA, even though I told them they could have it willfully.
Do you know if they entered her dental records into NCIC? Because that can be done as well.
I do not know. I know I was requested 3 times for the same dental records, which I provided 3 times to the detective. And after the 3rd time, he said it wasn't because they found anything on the Reddick property or anything, because nothing suspicious was located. He just wanted to have them on file.
Yeah, that's that'd be a good thing to make a note of and follow up on for sure.
Mind you, that was after December of 2023. So we're talking about 9 months after she'd been missing.
Good observation, Deirdre. Very good. So these were the folks that she was partying with that night, and they've all been ruled out as far as we know as suspects in her disappearance. One of them has passed away. The gentleman with the cowboy hat, unfortunately, has passed away. But were you able to have some type of a conversation with him before he passed?
No, I never spoke to James Robertson at all. At not one point ever. James Schaller, the gentleman in the white shirt with the darker jeans, that was the gentleman who called, and he actually provided these inside photos. So these are from 12:08 a.m. So right as March 2nd turned into March 3rd, and he sent them with the timestamps with locations from the information from the photos as well. So he and Tisha willfully spoke to me on the phone. Like, they contacted me themselves, and Tisha corresponds through Facebook Messenger with me.
Okay. And Tisha's the blonde woman on the right. So they've been ruled out then as having anything to do with her disappearance.
I don't know what state they have them in, because Marion County doesn't communicate with me. So if they were still seen as some type of suspect, I wouldn't know. All we know is the flyer they have updated now to me, even though they have not submitted that flyer publicly to anyone. It just says that Tyrone Mormon in this photo is the person of interest, and he's not speaking to them.
Right. And the reason why Tyrone is a person of interest is because you were told by the party goers that he came to the party at the end of the evening and that he gave Sara a ride home.
So it's a collaborative kind of, that when the PI was involved, he had an interview in person with James Robertson and Tisha McDermott on the same day. I actually helped set up the interview with Tisha McDermott for him. And in the interview with Robertson, he stated that he and Tyrone carried my sister out in the unconscious state. And then I guess the other statement that James Robertson gave to Marion County and the PI was that he was friends with Tyrone Mormon, and that Tyrone had come over around 9 a.m. to smoke pot with him. And he came back over that evening to drink and smoke with him because his fiance Shayla did not want him to drink and smoke at home. And supposedly then he gave Sara a ride. But they say when she left with him, he came back. They all had a little bit of a different timeline there. Like, one said 5 to 10 minutes. One said maybe it might have been 15, maybe 20. They're not even sure. Mm-hmm. But the car came back, and supposedly Tyrone ran back inside the house for something and left again. James thought it was Sara's wallet. Like, she had forgotten her wallet with her money. But he had said when he first talked to me in April of 23, he mentioned something about Sara being carried to me, James Schaller. But then he got incarcerated thereafter, and I didn't get any more details. He just kind of later said it was really dark on that side of the house, that he questioned Bubba, James Robertson, the next day about why was she being carried, like what was going on when he knew Sara was missing. And he said Bubba would just act like he had drunken amnesia from smoking pot or whatever, and he just couldn't remember, and wouldn't talk to them.
Interesting.
Well, wasn't he the one that she supposedly went to a convenience store with?
So Sara actually got a ride from a gentleman by the name of Lonnie, who was her roommate's kind of like maintenance guy, dog sitter that would help her when he was out of town. Not so much of an acquaintance to my sister, but she knew of him, obviously. He would take her to work sometimes. She would kind of pay him like an Uber sometimes. So Lonnie drove her with his girlfriend up to the gas station. They were waiting on her to come out to make her purchase. And that's where she met the Cowboys, which was James Robertson and Leonard Anderson, which is an older gentleman that's was pictured earlier.
Okay.
So they kind of worked together and lived around the corner from each other. So Leonard dropped off James Robertson at his house with Sara. So he kind of lived on one side of the house, split by a laundry room, and James Schaller and Tisha McDermott lived on the other side. So they lived on the same property together.
My one issue, Deirdre, with this is that with Tyrone is I don't see a motive for him. I just don't see one where the father of her child has motive in spades. So I'm very confused why he's not listed on the flyer as a person of interest. He most certainly should be a person of interest, because I highly doubt they were able to rule him out unless they never told Michelle that, but they should have, because he has been known to be violent. He has injured people in his area where he was living. He was violent with, here's the good guy there. He was violent with Sara prior to her going missing, and was constantly in her face about anything and everything to do with their daughter. He had means, most assuredly, and he had a motive. He wanted complete control over their daughter, and he wanted to have complete control over Sara, and she just wouldn't allow it anymore. So when you tell a domestic violence person who's been abusing you for years that they don't get control over you anymore, and that you're leaving them and you won't live with them, all kinds of bad things can happen. And we saw that in going over Ellen Greenberg's case last night, and how blatantly obvious it is to most of us that there was a domestic violence situation going on with Ellen Greenberg as well. And we know there was a domestic violence situation going on with Joe because Michelle witnessed a lot of it. Right, Michelle?
Right. And Joe was actively stalking Sara by use of her Gmail account. He was logging on as one of her devices and monitoring everything she did. Photos she was taking. She could download all her contacts. He could see where she was, who she was texting, read all of her emails, even to the attorney when they were in custody battle. All of the above. He would actually call my sister and tell her what she was wearing, where she was, what she was doing, all of the above.
And that's just high level creepy, number one.
And Sara had recently, before she went missing, she cut some of that tie from him being able to do it. She would get rid of her devices often and get new cell phones because of the activity. Because when she would see that he was logged on one of her accounts, she would then make a new email, get a new phone number, get a new phone. So Sara on January 23rd messaged me that she got a new phone number, and I asked her why. And she said because Joe was creeping again. And I told her, make sure you check all your accounts. She's like, you're right, I need to. And on January 29th, she started using that new number. On February 1st was the last time she saw her daughter, because he started withholding. He started messaging her on the parenting app that he wanted her to update her email and information, pretending as if it was a court ordered thing, even though they were court ordered to use the parenting app. So he didn't need her actual phone number or her new email, even though he was demanding, like, if you don't give it, then you don't get to see Dahlia, kind of thing.
Right.
Well, Sara wasn't updating it, but then there was a screenshot where on one of her Snapchat accounts on February 4th of 2023, right before she went missing, she had a screenshot of Joe following her, and she changed it to Dahlia's papa. And he calls my niece Cora because he renamed her. He never calls her Dahlia. And she screenshotted it after she saved it so she would know that that profile was him following her. So he was starting to get back on her accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had some random messages in the parenting app where he just happened to message her like the day after she went missing, like, Sara, like, here's a picture of Cora at Disney, like almost like it was an alibi.
I have a question. What was what were the charges? Do you recall for this arrest on 3/30 of 2023?
Oh, yeah, it was battery on a 75-year-old. So he gave the 75-year-old a brain bleed. He threw him to the ground.
This was literally weeks after Sara went missing.
It was, and it was kind of a downhill spiral that day. Even though that says March the 30th, 2023, it's just based on a late booking for some reason. So he was arrested on March the 29th, but the morning of that arrest, he had a meeting with the hotel owner, and he told her that he knew that my sister was unalived, and he repeated it multiple times. And he didn't say, like, I have a gut feeling. He just said, she's unalive. I know she's unalived. And that he wanted the hotel owner not to think that he did it because he wasn't responsible. And then he left. She said he was crying, and then the crying just immediately stopped, almost like he was reliving something that had happened, not something that like he was like actually upset about. And he left that parking lot and totaled his vehicle immediately. And then that evening, he got arrested for assaulting the 75-year-old. He like basically lured him into the office away from the camera, shoved him, and pushed him against the wall and down to the ground.
And there is actual video of this, right?
There is. I put it on social media mainly because when I got all the interactions from the camera, the one that stood out to me the most was Joseph had just said that morning, like, Sara was not alive, and he was so upset and crying. But on this video, an officer asked him, just small talking before he's arrested, he said, what brought you to Ocala? And he kind of leans forward and says, oh, my daughter. He's like, but I left her mother while she was pregnant. And then he stops and he goes, is that recording? And the deputy shuts off his body camera. But he's not crying. It's not a normal reaction. He was so upset that morning at a 9 o'clock, let's say, meeting at a local McDonald's in a public place that he's, profusely crying and, choking on his air supposedly. But then he's not saying, I came for my child, but her mother's missing. Oh, I don't know what to do. He doesn't do that. He immediately goes into a negative, even though he didn't leave my sister while pregnant. My sister had a restraining order because he beat her against the wall while pregnant because she was singing while cleaning a refrigerator.
Yeah, there's a whole history of domestic violence with this character. And I received an anonymous, and you're aware of this, Michelle, I received an anonymous DM, direct message, private message, whatever you want to call them. They're different depending on the app, from someone that actually worked in the school system and had major concerns about his behavior and the way that he would speak in a negative manner about Sara to these school teachers, and was literally, the words that this person wrote to me creeped all of us out. So I appreciate that. I appreciated whoever sent it to me. And I also appreciate why you need to be anonymous, because you work in the school system and you could be afraid of this guy. I would be afraid of him. I think he's dangerous. I think he's violent. I think he goes through up and down swings. He looks like a nice, happy-go-lucky guy here, but not the video that I saw where he's trying to beat this poor old man to a pulp. And also we know that he laid hands on Sara as well. So we know he can flip on a dime. So he's not someone you want to be around, not someone you should trust. Now, this was interesting. I don't feel that this person is a person of interest at all after all of everything I've read and everything you sent me. I found it interesting that he was, and if he was, but then dismissed because he is a Uber driver, correct?
He is.
And you think that he wasn't completely honest about if he gave Sara a ride that night?
Oh, no, he didn't give Sara a ride that night. Obviously, we know now.
Oh,
but
okay.
when Tisha and James Schaller thought she was picked up by an Uber because they didn't know Tyrone personally, and she had been texting someone that night. That was the story given to authorities. So we assumed at the beginning she possibly was picked up by Uber. We ran a legal thing through Uber with the Marion County Sheriff's Department. It came back that Uber or Lyft, hadn't picked Sara up from that location. So I went through Sara's contacts. We're talking 8 months later, 6 months probably for this, when I was able to download her contacts from Google, from one of her Gmail accounts. Ryan Spivak was listed as a contact. Sara had him saved as Ryan Uber Painter 40. So he's 47, Ryan Spivak. He is a painter. He does drive for Uber. I reached out to him just like I did all the Uber drivers. It wasn't just him. It was all of them. He blocked me immediately. At first, I thought his number was just re-given out as a new number to somebody else, and they didn't understand who this person was because I sent a picture of Sara with it. The same message was sent to all three individuals.
Right.
Later, I got a hold of somebody else that knew Ryan to see if I could get maybe a new phone number, and it ended up being a acquaintance that ended up being a girlfriend of his. And he immediately called me from the same number that then I knew was blocked, that I texted him on. Well, he said he never met my sister, never drove my sister, didn't even know who she was, and obviously had an image of her, even if he knew her as Jacqueline at the club when she wasn't supposed to use her real name there. I later found information Sara screenshotted where she had conversations with Ryan where he was interested in her romantically. And Sara told him that she knew he had a girlfriend and they would have to keep it strictly platonic. And she had screenshotted it. And she had him saved as a contact. And then I found an Uber receipt where 5 months before she went missing, Ryan had drove her and there was a receipt of the ride.
Oh, wow.
So he was red flagged kind of because of that. But the reason he really came into play, the description given, still kind of fit Ryan Spivak, even though he was older than maybe the 30 age group that they gave. The person thought he was maybe Native American or Hispanic. Originally, they said Mexican, but Tisha McDermott said Native American. Well, Ryan Spivak is part Native American. He's in Navajo or something and white. So I think I don't know exactly what Indian, but he is Indian in something. But either way, just because he lied about knowing her and no one made him lie. But Tisha McDermott misidentified Ryan Spivak. She was sent a photo and I said, hey, I've found this one Uber driver. Can you just look? Is this possibly the person you saw? And she's like, I'm 70% sure. And she said she remembered a tattoo on his arm. So I sent a photo that I found in Cash App and Venmo. And then she thought that it was Ryan Spivak. So that's where Ryan Spivak came into play. But Ryan Spivak kind of just continued to lie. He had junked his car 2 weeks before I texted him. He actually took me to court for a restraining order because I had his information, just stuff like this online. And there was also previous reports on Facebook where you could go, it looked like he had already deleted his Facebook. It no longer kind of existed when I went looking for it, but you could see old articles he was like tagged in or he had made to show that he had kind of already gotten rid of this Facebook. He had actually cut all his hair off. He updated his address with the Alachua County Court the day my sister went missing. He told one of his friends he had to go out of town because there were rumors about him. So all of those are just continuous red flags. Well, when he took me to court, he tried to claim that I had his phone that he basically hid inside of his car that he junked. And he said I found it and I tried to implement him and Sarah's like disappearance with things I put on his phone. He also tried to claim that his credit cards were left in the car and he tried to say that I attempted to use them fraudulently. So obviously all of that is not happened. But I found the car at a storage.
Just one question quick and then you can finish because I don't want to forget it and I want to ask Deidre's opinion too. So first of all, Ryan, if you happen to see this or watch this or a family member, the only reason your picture's on here is because you were mentioned in the 31-page incident report and I am live streaming about Sarah's disappearance. We are trying to find her. So nobody's accusing you of doing anything. You are no longer a person of interest as far as we know. So don't get all worked up about this, but you were mentioned in the incident report. It is pretty much fact that you did drive Sara at one point or another, and that's how you were brought into this investigation. Deirdre, any comments?
So the police department's not cooperating with you, so you don't know if any of these people have been interviewed, like the hotel employee that he made the admission that she was dead to. You don't know any of that?
No, the owner gave a statement. It's not an employee. He was the only employee other than a maid. It's just a hotel owner. It was the owner of the hotel. She gave a statement to police, the exact statement, pretty much what I basically said.
Wow. And was this guy questioned? Do you know?
So yeah, Ryan Spivak was questioned as well, multiple times actually, because then he took me to court for the restraining order, which I won. Marion County actually, the judge notated at the beginning of the hearing that Marion County actually requested to be part of the hearing. The sheriff's department did. And she told them that it would be automatically recorded and they could request a copy. So she wasn't going to do like special standards. They could obviously come if they wanted to, but she wasn't doing like these special considerations.
Wow.
But it's because Marion County had already emailed me that at that point, Ryan still was a suspect as well as Joseph Mayton, her child's father. And then obviously we didn't know about Tyrone. I didn't know about Tyrone physically that moment, but I knew that they were looking at somebody else, which ended up being Tyrone. Now, mind you, I kind of forced more of the vehicle thing because when I found the vehicle, it had been scrapped. It was at an LKQ. When I went and looked at the car, I didn't like handle all in the car, but it was already being stripped down. The engine and transmission were already taken out of it. You could immediately see there was some hair and twine inside the car. You could see paperwork that had Ryan's name on it. I already knew the VIN and all the information, so I knew it was his car. I could see photos of the car on the website ahead of time. I went to Marion County Sheriff's Department and said, hey, he scrapped this vehicle, but it was 2 weeks before I ever reached out to him. So it was already scrapped. It wasn't like I messaged him and then he scrapped it. But when Ryan reached out to me by phone, me and Marion County did have a conversation because he was very, oh, I don't know your sister, never met her, never drove her, don't even know who she is. Then he started saying, oh, well, how would the people know how tall I am? I have dark tinted windows. How would they be able to see me in my car? And then he started saying things like, aren't they still looking for 2 guys in a black truck? When he just said he didn't know anything about her, and he knew a lot. So it seemed like he had been following the story. So all the red flags were Ryan making his own red flags. And then, then there was social media.
It's possible, Michelle, that he was freaking out because maybe he drove her more than we know, more than you know, right?
Well, that's the thing. Now you can assume maybe Ryan was just very paranoid of some sorts. But in court, Ryan filed about a 30-page report. He printed out a bunch of things I put on social media, and then he hand wrote like his own little blurbs on those. In those blurbs, he put that he would have multiple missed calls for my sister 5 months before she went missing. So I got him to admit, would that be around October of 2023? And he says, well, of 22, whatever. And he says, yes, in court. Well, that's where the screenshot was. The screenshot of the conversation where he was interested in her and the Uber ride were both on the same exact day. Like after the ride, you know what I mean? He was obviously immediately communicating. Sara knew enough to know he had a girlfriend. So obviously, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
all three of them had to be people of interest because all 3 of them had contact that is pretty obvious would have had contact with her. The father of her child was having contact with her. We know Tyrone had contact with her. There were witnesses. Then you have, all the digging that you did. There was definitely contact that he was the Uber driver giving many of these ladies a ride home from where they were dancing at this dance club. So that makes sense. I think what's frustrating is that you can't get an unredacted police report because it's still an open case. So they won't give you anything. So you don't know if they've ruled Joe out or not, even though your sister told you that she was planning to go see Joe so she could negotiate to see her daughter. So by that statement alone, we could be led to believe that Joe was the last person to see her alive. We know she was alive at 2:45. She was on YouTube, or somebody was on YouTube, and no one knew how to get into her phone but Joe. So either she was with Joe at 2:45 and something went very wrong, or she was never with Joe. But then who was she with at 2:45? Because Tyrone was back home by then. His girlfriend, I believe, has already answered questions to that effect.
Well, she's trying to state that he never left the house at all, that Marion County is full of it, basically. Marion County says they have GPS coordinates with Tyrone and my sister together, and that they have a game trail cam footage of some kind in an SD card that was listed in Discovery that I do not have a copy of. And Tyrone's family is still trying to say that he didn't leave the house. Now, originally, when Marion County put out Tyrone's information, I thought they were possibly wrong about him. And that is because they kept using a timeline of midnight at a 24-hour gas station, which has to be the same gas station right there in Reddick that she got in the truck at.
But that wouldn't fit, right? Because you have those videos and pictures of them still at the house.
Right. And because they wouldn't give an exact time of whatever they had, and they weren't saying 12 or after, they just kept saying midnight. I knew my sister was taking pictures inside the house at 12:08, before that at 11:08 outside, and then 1:22 with Tisha at the same property. I thought it was possible that maybe Tyrone was just driving down the road, got picked up by the signal because he would have to pass the Reddick house to go to the gas station to do a U-turn to go back home, like he had went to the gas station. Because originally they thought it could be a black or a blue car, even though a Hyundai was mentioned, and he had a darker blue car and Ryan had a black car. So I thought maybe it was just a signal grab and they had the wrong person. But Shayla claims they had company over and that Tyrone never left at all. Well, that can't be true if Marion County has what they say, because Tyrone lives 4.9 miles away, 5 miles.
Right. Very close. And we know Sara got home at one point because you said that the shoes that are in the shoes that are in the pictures and the videos, you saw them at the house when you went to the house.
The roommate saw them at the house, not me.
The roommate saw them. Okay. You never actually saw the shoes?
No, because by the time we went to the house to look at the house, everything was kind of already packed up and everything.
So that does alert me a little bit, because so I thought you had seen those shoes. Then I have to say my jury's out if Sara ever made it home then, because I don't know.
I mean, I think the roommate's pretty accurate about the shoes. They went through my sister's clothing because I gave them permission after a certain point. She had been missing because Sara was not materialistic, and the shoes would not fit the roommate's feet, and the roommate liked the shoes, so she remembered the shoes sitting right by the door where Sara put them because she's the one that packed them up for donation.
Okay. But shouldn't her phone have pinged at the house then? Shouldn't law enforcement be able to prove that she was taken home by somebody? Somebody gave her a ride home and left her at the house?
Law enforcement says they have a triangulation of Sara's cell phone, and it is in the Reddick area. They just won't tell me what the 3 towers of the triangulation are, and there's a lot of towers. And one of the towers is the gas station, which is 2 blocks from the Reddick house and 2 miles from my sister's house.
Yeah. I mean, if she was dropped off by let's say Tyrone dropped her off, then went home, and the girlfriend's lying because she doesn't want her boyfriend to be in trouble, then she was back at her house. She would have been at her house and on her phone on YouTube at 2:45. So did she use her phone to call Joe or text Joe, or did she Snapchat Joe, and Joe came over with her daughter to pick her up and take her back to his place of residence, and then something went very wrong, obviously? I'm leaning to that because of all of their history, all of the domestic violence. These other characters just don't have any motive for me. There's just they don't have
the only thing you can assume with Tyrone is Tyrone's not talking. And obviously if Tyrone did leave the house, he knows exactly what discovery Marion County has against him because they filed the warrant for him lying about his cell phone. He did lie. He said his cell phone was broken when they asked for it. Shayla said, no, he had a cell phone this morning when he dropped me off for work. So she was the witness against him, basically, in testimony that they used. They did get a warrant, and they've had his phone ever since December of 2023. So you would think that if they have his phone, they would know every single place he has ever driven, even if they don't have Sara's.
Right.
But Shayla did mention he only used some type of SIM card, like a text app thing for Wi-Fi calling that he could pull in and out of his phone on the audio recording. But you would think that if Sara was unconscious, like just drunk, unconscious, it didn't have to be, we never got a statement of what the unconsciousness was or caused by, but we know she was drinking. If Tyrone allegedly had sexualized Sara in some way, willfully and or not, he would not want Shayla to know it happened. And maybe he needed to get home quickly, and that's why she was carried. But the other thing is, you can't say it was a setup with the shoes because her lighter and cigarettes were outside too, because my sister's driver's license that would have been in her wallet, her clutch with her, was a Sarasota address. She had never changed it to the Reddick house because she had only lived there 3 months. So they wouldn't have been able to pop the wallet open and look at the address and drive her without her physically talking and speaking to them. She would have had to say where she lived.
Right. Got it. Okay. We have about 2 minutes because Kara needs to come on the stage, and then we still have Sarah Colleen waiting. So we definitely will have you back because there will be, I'm assuming, updates. What can we do in the meantime other than continue to use our social media to hashtag out where is Sara Ebersole, to put out her seashells, to help you? Do you want to email me some flyers that I can email out to others here in the Volusia County area in any hopes that she may have been over here? Because if you want to do that, I'm happy to print those out and share those out over here in my county.
Well, I still share the flyers everywhere. I've took them all the way to Georgia. I've took them to Naples. I still do that, and they're shared in all different states. It doesn't matter if Sara traveled in those locations because it just takes the right person seeing the flyer to maybe nudge the Marion County Sheriff's Department to do more. Because right now, even though they've provided me with this updated flyer stating that Tyrone Mormon is the person of interest and he's not cooperating, they still have not sent that out to the public. They sent me the email before stating that they sent it out, you know, within internally, and it hasn't been sent public. And I don't know why. I mean, you worked in law enforcement, maybe you can answer why they would not update it publicly when it says for immediate release, but they provided me the updated flyer.
The only reason I can think of, this is just off the top of my head, and I want to know what Deirdre thinks about this, and I may have to call some of my other retired officer friends, is that they're about to make an arrest.
Well, I feel like it's because March 3rd is coming up for her 2-year anniversary, and I feel like they want to send something out to the media. Because even though they arrested Tyrone December 20th of 23 and he was released December 21st of 23, they waited till March 3rd, till Sara was missing 1 year, to announce that he had ever even been arrested.
Right. Well, I think
Right.
they got wind of these live streams, and they knew we were asking for the missing flyer. I'd also left many messages asking for the missing flyer. I emailed asking for the missing flyer. You emailed asking for the missing. I think they were sick of us, so they said, let's just give her the missing flyer, but we're not going to put it out yet. And they have a reason. They have to, because why would they not want to put out the missing flyer? So there's got to be a reason. It could potentially be that they are close to making an arrest, so they don't want to put it out right now. I don't know. I'm baffled.
But then you have to go, that also doesn't make sense, because they didn't update it after April 10th when the truck was located, and over a year and a half went by, and I was still arguing to update it until we just got it updated on January 9th of 2025. And they didn't have anything then.
Well, we were making a lot of noise, Michelle. I mean, you've been making a lot of noise, but they were used to you. When somebody else comes into the picture who's actually live streaming, and even though our audience is relatively small, I think that they're like, holy crap, we better get this lady her missing flyer, because we're getting attention now. And she's got another level of attention other than just your Facebook, which is now our live streams and all of our wonderful people in our live tonight that are helping to share out Sara and you on their social media. So I think you were able to take it to another level by you and I connecting, which I'm really happy about. And I'm very, again, honored that you were willing to trust us and allow us to do what we can do to help you. I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I keep thinking of different avenues we can take, different letters we could write. So there's still that possibility, and you and I can talk about that off screen. Deirdre, did you have anything else before we bring Kara up?
Just 3 things, and it's what I was talking about before. To ensure that she is entered into NCIC, to make sure that her dental records are entered into NCIC, and her DNA. At this point, she's been missing so long. That's critical. That's critical.
Yeah.
And if they don't
I'll
answer
get this
you,
updated too, Michelle. I know you said it's up to 16,000. Sorry, Deirdre. So
no,
I'll make sure.
it's 20,000.
Oh, 20. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll get that updated.
Well, I know that, Deidre, I know that they did not put my sister on the FDLE website until December of 23. Even though I asked for it continuously.
They're 2 different systems, though. So
well, I know, but I'm just saying that's how long it took to Stephen Barter to get her on there.
Right. But I would say if they don't cooperate, and if we have to raise funds for that, maybe we can do it, is to have an attorney write a letter to them requesting that they put her into NCIC with her dental records and with her DNA, which they would have to get, through you.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that would have been like an immediate thing to take from me, especially when they were making statements that she might not be allowed on the Reddick property, and I offered it.
Right.
And they just
or her retainer. Her retainer might have DNA on it.
Right, mind you, they took a toothbrush from our house too, but I told them my sister didn't typically use a plastic toothbrush. It was always bamboo and charcoal toothbrushes, but they still took that into evidence. But my sister's hairbrush and makeup brushes, anything else with DNA was missing.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle, thank you so much for this huge update. You are amazing. You are strong. You are brave. We completely commend you and respect you for the way you stood up for your sister and continue to stand up. And I'll look forward to just you and I meeting in person here soon, because we're not very far away. So I've already got to meet Kara several times in person, and I would love to meet you in person as well. Maybe we can meet halfway and I can get the new flyer from you and we can chat a little bit. Maybe I'll come up with something new that we can do in the meantime, but we'll be back with more updates with Michelle and Where is Sara Ebersole. Please share out the hashtag, everyone. Drop the seashells wherever you go in remembrance of Sara, and let's keep the faith that we find her soon.
Wait, one more question.
Yes, Deirdre, go ahead.
Michelle, was Sara on any medications that were life-threatening, like she had to be on medications?
No, Sara was just having episodes of vertigo. So she was seeing a doctor for that, was starting to get on medication. And then she was just seeing like an online psychiatrist because of all the kind of like panic attacks she was having because of Joe and Joe's physical threats.
Okay. I just wondered if she might be considered missing endangered, like that could be an avenue to get her.
Well, now she is missing endangered. That's how they've updated the flyer.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Finally.
Okay.
Finally.
Sorry.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for coming live streaming with us from the softball fields, because it's Florida and it's cold. So stay warm,
Okay.
and I'll be in touch.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Yes. Hi, Kara.
Hey, everybody. How's it
Hey.
going?
Hi, Kara.
Welcome. Kara, you've met Deirdre before, haven't you, with us? Have we
Yeah.
been together with
Briefly.
Yes, yes.
Good. Well, welcome. How are you doing today?
I just got home from work, so I'm glad to be home.
Good. I'm sure it's been a long day for you. I know where you work, because that's where we met. We met at the restaurant that you work at down in New Smyrna Beach, and that was very serendipitous that we met that way. And I'm very honored that you were willing to talk to me and let me and Deirdre and Annette and Amber stand for you and stand for Jason. And I was honored that you asked me to go with you to the sheriff's Volusia County Sheriff's. So let me just bring up really quickly. I just want to, for those that are with us, just if they weren't with us, we have Kara's live stream where we told you all about Jason and his tragic death and about his case. So you can go to our library if you want to watch the entire episode. If you feel you might be able to help with any kind of tips or just support, please watch that episode. It's in our library. But just to give you a brief overview, this is Jason Veach. This was Kara's husband, and he passed away on October 8th, 2023 in a biker bar called the Cabbage Patch in Volusia County, Florida, which is just outside of the city of New Smyrna Beach, which is just about 20 miles to my south. I actually used to live there. I vacationed there for 20 years with my kids, and I lived there when I first moved to Florida in 2009. So I know the area very well. I am not a biker, and so I have never been to the Cabbage Patch, but it's on my way to various other outings. So I have passed by it many, many times. Let me just remind you of our disclaimer again, that anything we use here tonight is fair use. Any videos, photos, police reports, we've gotten permission to use them, or they're fair usage. And these are our opinions on what happened to Jason that night. They are not yours. They may not be yours. They may not be Kara's. My opinion may not be Kara's opinion, or may not be Deirdre's opinion, but they are opinions based on the police report and the witnesses' testimonies so far, the witnesses' interviews so far. So we have a hashtag for Jason now we're using on all our social medias. Everyone here at Social Change Warriors, we ask you to please use this when you're on social media, Justice for Jason Veach, because right now we truly believe that there is no justice for him. He was in an altercation in a bar. He had been drinking. He was intoxicated. We see this all the time as police officers, and it's part of the package. When there's drinking involved, there can be bar fights involved, and normally they end without anybody dying. Normally they end with people just maybe getting hurt, maybe being arrested, maybe just the fight's broken up before anything bad can happen. But this was not the case for Jason, and we are so sorry, Kara, for your loss. And rest in peace, Jason. You did not deserve for that to end, have that be the end of your life. So, Kara, why don't you let everybody know what happened that night?
He was overserved and he was drinking at the bar. He had left. He had gotten to an argument with somebody earlier in the day and left, went to a different bar and was sitting there. He had briefly spoke with officers, which we'll get back into, and then ended up going back to the Cabbage Patch. And when he went back to the Cabbage Patch, he sat down on a bar stool and they had refused him service. And he was angry and he was slammed his hands on the bar. And a guy had got up from his bar stool and went and got a hatchet and assaulted him with a hatchet. And so Jason defended himself, and the guy's buddies grabbed him, slammed him on the ground, and they choked him to death.
So the medical examiner's report, and Deirdre and I have looked at it, is that he died of asphyxiation. Is that correct?
Homicide by asphyxia. Yes.
Yes.
It was by sudden restraint, as the ME had explained it to me. That it is, he said that there's no difference between it and actual strangulation. It's a horrible way to die. And that he said there's no different count. It's the same exact thing. It's a terrible way to die.
So when you and I first of all, when you first told me about this, I was completely astounded that the person that was afraid of Jason because he was drunk and disorderly and started this altercation verbally that he was so afraid of him that he felt the need to retreat to his car. Well, then why didn't he get in his car and go home? Why would you go in the trunk of your car, get out some type of a gardening tool? Because in this case, that's probably what he uses it for. Who knows? Or maybe he carries it around because he's done this before. Who carries a hatchet in their car, right? First of all, I was told by the Volusia County sheriffs that this is Florida.
Yeah,
that was my answer. I'm supposed to be okay with that because this is Florida, it's
Florida.
okay to have a hatchet in your freaking car. And it's okay to go out to your car when you're afraid of this person and bring the hatchet back into the bar and use it in a weapon fashion.
Correct. That's what
that
they said.
is utterly insane and ludicrous. I don't know what you guys feel like in the live tonight. If you want to let me know. I still can't get over it. It makes zero sense to me. I don't like being told that this is Florida, that I don't care. This is America. I don't care about this is Florida. No one should be allowed to go get a weapon out of their car. You can turn anything into a weapon. We all know this. And if you go out and get it from your vehicle, you are leaving the area of disturbance. You are now safe. You are now in your car. Jason did not follow this man out to his car. Witnesses say he never left the bar. He sat on the bar stool and was groaning and moaning and griping to the bartender and not causing any more of a disturbance than he had been causing. This man had time to leave the bar, go to his car, get the hatchet out of his trunk, I'm assuming, where he had it, or maybe he had it in the back seat. Maybe he's just that brazen. And then come back in with it and actually say, oh, you think you're a tough guy, huh? Well, I've got a hatchet. I mean, you can just imagine what was going on. So that is unacceptable. That now makes him the aggressor. He's the one with Jason doesn't have a weapon. Deirdre, am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. The threat was over to that particular man the minute he walked out the door. So stand your ground does not apply. The only way that it could apply is if there was something going on in the bar where he was threatening other people. So while that threat was going on, he went out and got the weapon, and then it would be in defense of another.
Right.
But barring that, the threat was over, stand your ground doesn't apply. And now he is the aggressor.
And the only way stand your ground can even apply, just for those of you not in Florida or in any other state where there's stand your ground, is that that's a defense. That's for the defense to use. The police don't bring that up. The prosecutor doesn't bring that up. That's for the defense attorney. Once the prosecutor charges the person, then that person's lawyer can then say, oh, well, we're going with stand your ground because of this, and the other. So to meet the conditions of stand your ground, there's a whole list, and I have it in Jason's deck. We'll put that up in a minute. But that never happened because they haven't even charged anybody. So stand your ground isn't even an issue right now because they told Kara, and I'll let her tell you how this meeting went, where we went to the Volusia County Sheriff's together. We met with a captain and a lieutenant. They told her that the prosecutor said there's not enough evidence to charge anybody. Yes. Well, Jason's still dead, and he did not unalive himself. So how much evidence do you need that he was held down on the ground? The witnesses, that's in the police reports, the witnesses held him down. It's in the police reports. This man went to get a hatchet. You can't, that's not stand your ground. This is happening. Stand your ground is after you're charged. So there's something not right. There's something messed up with this case. Correct. So Kara, let's hear from you again about this meeting that you and I attended. It was last week? Yeah. Early in the week, right? Or was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sometime. I think it was last Thursday.
Yeah, you're right. It was because you hadn't left yet for your big
my vacation.
We have to say that Kara's vacation was to watch her Ohio State Buckeyes win the national championship. So we must say that on the air.
I did. Yes, I was there. It was beautiful. But we'll get to that. It's a whole.
Well, we're just glad you're having some happy times because this is distressful for you. You're fighting for justice for your husband, and we're grateful for you that you got to go and unwind and be happy and cheer for your team with your friend who played for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Her friend actually played for the Buckeyes. So we're grateful that you are getting to live life and do life.
And my kid got to go too. So
and your son got to go. Yes.
So we had the meeting and we pretty much just wanted questions answered. And the first one was, why was this guy not in trouble for carrying a hatchet into the bar? And that's what he had responded with, was that it's Florida and they're allowed. And I asked, I said, well, I've been a bartender for a long time, way longer than I ever wanted to be. And you're not allowed to carry your with a concealed weapon permit. You can carry, it's open carry or whatever, but you're not allowed to carry into any places that serve alcohol. That's real. And he told me that's not true. That's not true. Yes, you can. I've never heard of that changing. But he said that guy was allowed to carry that weapon inside. He was allowed. Okay. And
so Miss Bailey here is with us tonight, and she says allowed to open carry.
Correct. I don't know. Yeah, Desi, I don't know. Allowed to open carry. Yes, Florida, you're allowed to openly carry a gun now. But it's, again, still not allowed to carry weapons into where they serve alcohol. If I'm not mistaken, you're not allowed.
But what happened when he came back inside? Did he brandish it? Did he threaten? What did he do with it?
That's the question of the hour, because they have what he did with it redacted and they're refusing to unredact it. And they also, like, it's taken a lot for them to give me the statutes so far that they gave me, but none of them fit for why it's redacted. It's very weird. But that being said, I'm going to read this real fast, because the captain and the lieutenant completely contradict what they told us. They justified why he brought it in there. They said that he was allowed to bring it in there. But in the final report, in the detective's report, this is what it states. It says, deputy, hold on. All right. So as soon as Michael Beer, this is when the responding officer responded. And this is when he found Jason was on his stomach. There was a guy on each arm and slightly on Jason or on Veach's back. One subject remained on Veach, holding his right arm and slightly on Veach's right shoulder. The subject was identified as Michael Beery. Beery got up as soon as Deputy Bratzer grabbed a hold of Jason's arm. And here it is, you guys. Deputy Bratzer placed Veach in handcuffs, thinking he was the one reported person who had possession of the hatchet. Deputy Bratzer then noticed that Veach was unresponsive and he did not appear to be breathing. So the captain and the lieutenant told me and Kat that the guy was allowed to carry the hatchet in the bar, but the responding officers immediately put my husband, who was not moving, in handcuffs because they thought he was in possession of the hatchet. So Jason's not allowed to have a hatchet, but Hatchet is allowed to have a hatchet.
And Kara, let's remind everybody too, we just got the unredacted police report. This is another interesting caveat, guys, is that Kara had been asking for this for months and months. And they had, when her and I first met, they told her it would take months and months for them to get it to her because they were so backed up. Well, lo and behold, we do 2 live streams and I call there and ask questions and I request the police report, the redacted police report, and we live stream and I leave messages. And guess what Kara gets?
Yeah. Mostly
redacted police report.
Yes.
So this is proven fact, guys, that communities can work together. Correct. You can come up with enough people to make noise and to get these people in line who are not doing their jobs or who are trying to do what they're doing for reasons we don't understand. Why is Kara being treated this way? What it makes no sense to me. What is the reasoning for all of this, that they don't call her back and that they tell her it's going to take forever to, I consider forever, if they're telling her what, 10 to 12 weeks? Is that what they originally told you?
Well, I requested it in October. And well, they're saying that it could take weeks and even months to get any pictures whatsoever. Body cam footage. They haven't said anything about that it would take. We still haven't got it.
And what was the bill they sent you, Kara?
Total right now is $1,100.
$1,100.
For what?
For everything. For the body cam footage, the reports, the photos. I've paid $1,100 so far.
Okay. Have you gotten the CAD entries? So when if they're automated, most departments are, the dispatcher types in a case to be dispatched, those contain notes and they contain updates when the officers say things over the radio. The dispatcher types those into the CAD notes.
Yeah. All I have are the incident supplements, the 911 transcripts. That's all. And the autopsy.
So what you need,
I've requested anything and everything that I can, if it's possible.
what you need is the CAD entry, and you need the radio traffic covering that entire time.
Yeah. I asked, so I also, they gave me the body cam footage of when Jason was with the cops, and her whole entire call was 9 minutes long, because it is crucial. If they let him ride that motorcycle in front of them, they should be held accountable for something, but they only give me 2 minutes of the video. So when her backup shows up and they start speaking, it cuts off before you can hear anything they say. They won't, either they don't have it or they won't give it. They only give me her conversation with Jason and walking away. And as soon as her backup pulls up and they start speaking, they cut it off and said they don't have that video. That's what they told me. They don't have it.
And that was, sorry, Deirdre, that was the other, this is a whole nother side of Jason's case, is that, and we played this last time we met with Kara. If you're interested in this, just go find our Justice for Jason Veach live stream we did with Kara 2 weeks ago, and we played the video. So what happened is that there was a noise complaint at the bar Jason went to prior to the Cabbage Patch. So we have the noise complaint. We played that. It was an elderly gentleman's voice. It sounded like he was making a noise complaint. He said the bar was disrupting him and disturbing him, and that this happened all the time. And he didn't want to give his name because he was afraid they would retaliate against him. So the officer that went to the scene was this female sheriff, Lewis County Sheriff. She contacted this particular bar owner, and this was it called Charlie's?
Sorry, Charlie's Corner Bar, yeah.
Charlie's Corner Bar, not far away from the Cabbage Patch. And she contacted him, said, hey, I'm hearing a noise complaint. It was very casual chat. He basically said, yeah, I'll turn it down or I'll shut the door. They talked for maybe like 4 minutes. And then as she was about to leave, this owner or manager, whoever this person was at Charlie's, indicated to the officer, he said, hey, see that guy over there on the motorcycle? Yeah, he shouldn't be driving. Something to that effect. So she said, oh, great. Something like that. Like, oh, great. Now I got to add another call to my noise complaint call. She sounded like, oh, great. Right. So she then walks over, she contacts Jason. He's sitting on his motorcycle. The light is on. And if you know anything about motorcycles, if the light's on, the engine's running, keys in the ignition. In Florida, in most states, in Wisconsin, where I'm from, if the key's in the ignition and the lights are on and you're behind the wheel of that vehicle and you're intoxicated visibly for the officer to see, and they can smell alcohol in your breath, you are going to get arrested for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. And you're going to be asked to perform a field sobriety test. And if you refuse, then you'll be taken to the hospital where they'll do a blood draw. And then there's that. So she had that opportunity right out of the gate because she said she could tell he was drinking. She said she could smell alcohol on him. And she was already told by the other person at the bar that he should not be driving, that he was very overserved. I don't know if he used the word overserved, Kara, but he basically said that see that guy over there, he shouldn't be driving. Correct. So she had two choices. And she said to him, I need you to, find someone to drive your motorcycle home for you. Well, he said, no, nobody's driving my bike. He wasn't happy about it. Obviously, he was drunk. And then, so what she could have done at that point, and she could have just said, I'm not giving you a choice. You have two choices. You can call your wife, you can call a cab, you can call somebody to drive your bike, but I'm not leaving here. I'm not watching you drive out of this parking lot drunk. I won't be responsible for that. Your other choice is that I arrest you right now, and I'll take you. If you won't do field sobriety, then I'll have to take you to the hospital, and we'll do a blood draw, and we'll do it that way. Those were his two choices, guys. As a police officer, that's all. That's called discretion. She had discretion. Now, what I thought was interesting is the sergeant and the captain, when I questioned them on this, they said, well, she had discretion. Sure, we have discretion. We're trained on how to have discretion. How to best use discretion is always at your own wit, right? Your own intelligence of the scene, of the call that you're on. But when you're a smart, intelligent police officer and you've been through the police academy, and this wasn't her first rodeo, I'm almost positive with drinking and motorcycle week, unless she was a rookie, which I don't know, but the discretion is limited. It's not wide open, free for all discussion, discretion. I'm just going to let somebody who's obviously drunk drive out of this parking lot. You don't have that kind of discretion. You have a limited discretion. Her discretion was, how do I do this? Do I arrest him right here and now, or do I give him the chance to call his wife, get off his bike, and not arrest him? Okay.
Right.
That was her discretion. She didn't choose either one of them. So that was perplexing to me. That was concerning to me. And obviously for Kara, it's just so maddening and sad, because had she done either one of those things, then Jason would never have gone to the Cabbage Patch. This shows you how one decision can affect the rest of your life in a negative way or a positive way sometimes, right? But in this case, a very negative way. The non-use of that discretion wasn't used properly, and he was able to get on the bike and leave that property and go to the Cabbage Patch, where he was already overserved, already drunk. And then that led to his death that day. So I'm so sorry.
Was that incident documented in any way? Did the officer get on the radio and say, I've got a citizen report of a DUI?
We don't know.
No, well, we didn't hear. No, she did not know, because she was on the body camera the whole time, remember?
Yeah. And she turns around and walks away. But like, if she said anything after that, nobody has a clue.
Right.
Because they
so she never called it in.
No, never.
And she should have.
Right.
When you make contact with somebody and you're investigating a crime, you're supposed to call it in. So that should have been documented.
Even without, if she decided just to let him go, there might not be a report written, but there would be in the CAD
an incident report.
Disposition. We called them depots, disposition of what you were doing. Incident report. It wouldn't be a full-blown police report, but it should have been. I mean, it should have been a full-blown police report, because she should have done one or the other. Arrested him or had him call his wife and stayed with him until Kara got there or a cab got there, whatever the case may be. And then that would have been a full-blown police report. Absolutely, it would have. I think
it goes back to that moment in time why you're not getting the cooperation, because she didn't follow policy. She didn't do what she was supposed to do. She didn't follow the law. And then this bad thing happened afterward. They're responsible and they know it, and they're not cooperating with you because of that.
Right.
He should have been arrested, or he should have had somebody come and take custody of him and impound the motorcycle so that he couldn't double back and get on it.
Correct.
Sarah Jackson was one of the responding officers on Jason's case, and her report states that she made contact with Veach during a noise complaint. Deputy Jackson was advised by the bartender on scene that the male, later identified as Veach, was intoxicated and possibly going to drive. Deputy Jackson made contact with Veach, who was highly intoxicated. He was argumentative during the encounter, and due to him having no involvement with the reason of the call and the noise complaint, Deputy Jackson advised him he should not drive, or he could end up getting arrested with a DUI. And no further interaction occurred, and Deputy Jackson completed her call for service and left.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous. That's like saying I went on a call for a noise complaint and somebody pointed out a dead body to me, but because it was a noise complaint, I didn't bother investigating the dead body.
That's what I say. Oh, I saw two guys robbing a house, but I'm here for something else. So, hey, I'll come back later if anybody calls. Who does that?
Right.
Mind blown.
Yeah. When somebody asks you to help somebody twice and you acknowledge it, that's your duty. You swore an oath to serve and protect, not just the community.
And I looked at because I'm not familiar with that area, and I sent Kat Google Earth pictures. The 1-lane road, and then like a major 2-lane highway. The speed limit on that 1-lane road is 45 miles an hour. And you're going to send a drunk person out on a motorcycle 45 miles an hour? Like, Mm,
Yeah.
Regarding the police report with this redacted situation with the witness bar, I will email the captain tomorrow. If you can send me his email, I'll email him as well, because he seemed very friendly at the end and said if you or I had any questions, we could email him. So
Yeah.
I will email him. And Amber is saying, show what we have at the body cam. We will do that next time, because we are going to run out of time tonight. And if they want to see it, all they have to do is go in our library and click on Justice for Jason Veach, and you'll be able to watch our live stream when we first were with Kara. So you're welcome to do that, but we will show it again the next time when we have more updates. We'll show all, because we'll have new body cam, hopefully, that Kara is paying $1,100 for. So, but yes, good idea, Amber, and I appreciate any ideas that any of you have. You're always welcome to put questions or suggestions for us up in the box anytime, absolutely anytime. So Amber says it's 2 minutes. Come on. Well, I'll tell you what, Amber, if you can find it, I'll put it up. I don't know where it is. So it'll take right now. I'm struggling at 9:30 at night just to talk most of the time. Cause as you know, guys, I'm still recovering from this damn knee surgery and I still have COVID symptoms. So for me to be able to talk and look for that video and put it up is not happening right now. But if you can find it and you want to put it up there, you go for it. You said put it in the where can you put it for me where I could copy it quickly? Probably I guess you're going to have to email it to me and I'll have to go in my email to pull it up. But I just don't have the brain power, girl, right now to do all that and still try to run this room right now with Kara and Deirdre. So,
Kara, did they give you a detailed bill for what they charged you for?
Desi, do you have that answer? Mike, hold on. She's in the chat. She could tell you. I don't know what it was detailed. I mean, no, I don't think it was. I think a lot of it was, Desi will pull
Sorry,
it.
guys, we have to take a brief moment to smile for a second.
I would get it, and then I would be really mad and be like, "Are you kidding me?" Excuse my language. And I'd call my sister and be like, "Go look at this and take care of it right now." That's what I did. So my sister, who's in the chat, she'll let you know real fast if it is detailed. But I think it's just with the body cam footage is what they just charged me with.
Your sister said, what was the question? We're looking for the total of this I've never heard of any police department. So, here's a great example. So I went on the Philadelphia Police Department website this morning because I decided that I'm going to request the Ellen Greenberg police reports. I emailed with her mom today and they just moved to Florida and they are in boxes and they can't find them. So I'm like, all right, let me go ask for them. So I went on the website, went through all these clicks, found out what I had to do. They wanted to charge me $25. For Ellen Greenberg's police reports. $25. That was it.
Desi, she wants to know if the invoice is detailed of what we request, what we ordered, what we're being
They
charged.
can only charge you for certain things under Freedom of Information Act. And it could be that they're justified in that. I just don't really kind of see how, because everything is so automated.
They're saying that it's the hours of videos they have to watch, which I don't understand how that's possible, considering the fact that how many hours did they actually spend with anybody?
They do have to go over it, and they do have to do any redactions if there's people's personal stuff in there. They have to make sure that that's edited out. But it doesn't sound like the interaction was that long.
No, I think honestly, I think the redactions are crazy. I don't understand them. I think that I'm going to be honest. I think they're redacted because if they're unredacted, it's going to have the case in our favor, and they're not going to take the redaction out because they're using it. They're saying that this guy was so scared. That's why he was allowed to do that. But in the report, like there's a redacted spot that says Mike told Keeney something. And if Jason did not jump the bar, he would be okay. So it's him explaining if something happens that he's going to be safe behind the bar. And the guy got up from his bar stool, went outside and grabbed the weapon. So what needs to be redacted here? Like, it doesn't make any sense where the redactions are and they wouldn't give me like the reason of them. And I thought that there has to be a reason for the redaction in the reports. There has to be, or so I thought.
It has to be personal and private information, not.
It's not, though. It's something about what he does. He's telling him to do something, or it's along those lines. If Veach comes over here, go behind the bar and you're safe. Or, if what is he telling him to do to go over the bar so Jason can't get you? Like if he walks over is what I think he says. That's what it sounds like. Keeney says if he comes over or something, we don't know because it's redacted. It doesn't make sense. It's his statement of what's going on. Why is that redacted?
Kara. Hey, Kara, I'm still here. I just had to get up and stretch my knee. Can you do me a favor? Because I don't have the police report open.
Mm-hmm.
Can you read that whole section really slowly and just read it so we can hear it and then stop when it gets to what they have redacted out?
So you want me to start with Dawn? Dawn is the one that has most of the stuff redacted.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what it says.
And remind everybody who Dawn is.
Dawn is the 911 caller. Okay. And they said at first, again, I'll tell you the redactions that they gave me or the statutes that they gave me after I've called and asked for them every single day, and they told me they didn't have to give them to me. So it says on October 8th, 2023, Detective Wheeler responded to the Cabbage Patch Bar located at 549 North County Road 415, New Smyrna Beach, reference a death investigation. The dispatch call came in at 1942 hours as the disturbance involving a patron and an employee identified as Dawn. Dawn indicated that the person of interest was too big and the bartender could not throw him out due to his size. Now it's redacted, stating someone came into the bar with an axe, redacted. There were about 6 males holding the big guy down on the ground, and she was unaware of where the axe was at this time. At 1958 hours, redacted, there was a subject unconscious, and law enforcement was doing CPR, working the code. At 2028 hours, no code, no vitals, time and death was relayed to dispatch. And then that's the first paragraph. And then
okay, Kara, break for a second so Deirdre and I in the chat can absorb all this. So number one, though, this is the number one, is that this case is closed. So why in the world is there that much redacted? Because but they didn't provide you with any reason. And then when you called and emailed, they finally provided you with the list of statutes that allows police reports to stay redacted after the case is closed, but they don't explain them to you. They're not explaining to you how they're expecting you to be a lawyer and understand how that statute applies to something you can't even read because it's redacted. Right, Deirdre?
Right. Well, it sounds like they may have even left out the word said. Like in certain cases, you could imagine that they're saying, Joe Smith said, and then they relate what was said, but they include said with the redaction. So you really don't know what happened in that block. Whereas if they put the word said in there, then you know that they're redacting a name. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody in our chat tonight, all of our supporters, do you have anything to say about what you just heard from Kara? So her sister says the 911 statute that they are using to protect personal information doesn't make sense, as Dawn cases you could information. Oh, I guess you might have auto thing documented in the law enforcement report.
Right. So yeah, because the statute that they're telling me, hold on. If I leave you guys, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't know. Can you guys still see and hear me?
One thing I want to answer while you're looking that up for Julie. Julie, thanks for being such a great supporter of all of our victims and their families. Thanks for coming to all of our live streams. I forgot to ask, is this bar affiliated with any particular motorcycle club or any patches hang out there? Yes. I mean, this is a very popular area, as you guys well know, for the Bike Week. In October is Bike Oktoberfest, and then in the February is Bike Week, and then the Daytona 500 happens. I mean, Daytona Beach is just a hotbed of everything to do with racing. And New Smyrna is a vacation town. It's adorable. A lot of people stay there because Daytona gets booked solid. So this little bar, the Cabbage Patch, which is right outside of New Smyrna Beach off of Highway 44, which the 44, for those of you that know Florida, leads to the 4, which the 4 then goes to Orlando. So it's a great place to stay when you visit here because you can get to Orlando in like 50 minutes and you can get to Disney and all the parks. So this is a hotbed, a popular vacation spot. This bar has been around since the 1950s. It's very well known, doesn't have a lot of problems with law enforcement. And yes, there are various motorcycle clubs that come here for these bike weeks from all over the country. But in Volusia County and in each town has laws about colors, and you cannot wear colors in bars in Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, or Holly Hill, or New Smyrna Beach, South Daytona, Port Orange. These are all the towns that go from Ormond in the north all the way to New Smyrna in the south, and that includes Edgewater. No colors are allowed in any of the bars. It's against the law, but they tend to look away sometimes and they tend to let them do it. So could there be colors at any given time at the Cabbage Patch? Sure, there could be, because they don't enforce it very often. But again, I don't believe that this had anything to do with colors. I don't want to put any blame on any of the motorcycle clubs because this had to do with Jason being very drunk. Kara has admitted that. And he was just mouthing off. And then this other gentleman was mouthing off back. And I don't think it had anything to do with colors. You don't think that either, do you, Kara?
I don't think that is it. I think they are just local buddies hanging out at the bar. I don't think it was patch related at all.
Yeah.
Had Jason hung out there before?
Yes, we had been there before. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any more that's redacted that you want to keep reading? Okay.
Yes. So again, with the only people's parts that are redacted are Dawn's and the guys actually involved. So this was, all right, this is still Detective Wheeler's, let's see. His report is, this is from his sworn recorded interview with Dawn Hill, her date of birth, who I'm not going to say it. I don't know. I mean, it's public, I guess, because it's wrote right here. I can tell you who was the bartender working the day of the incident. Dawn stated her shift started at 6 p.m., but she arrived early around 5:15. Dawn claimed she'd never dealt with Jason until today. She stated Veach arrived at the bar around 5:30. He purchased some drinks for himself and others and paid Jennifer, bartender on early shift, with a credit card. Veach was with a group of people seated near the door, or near the front door, that included Charlie Lawson. All right, hold on. I'm going to skip because this is, I'm not going to skip. He was with a group of people seated at the front door. Veach was yelling, "I'm the biggest person in the bar. Try me." He said Veach knocked over glasses and flipped a table. Charlie ultimately gained control, took Veach outside. Charlie came back in, and Dawn stated Veach returned to the bar about 5 minutes. It's redacted. And then it says Veach sat, okay, and this is at 1942. So this is when he came back that night. So it says that he returned about 5 minutes, and there's the redacted. He sat at the bar and appeared to have had a bad attitude and appeared to be intoxicated. She asked Veach to leave, causing him to become irate and yell at her. Veach slammed his hands on the bar, breaking his sunglasses. Dawn said that she had seen someone swing what she believed to be a small axe out of her peripheral view and believed whoever swung the axe hit Veach. She immediately ran back behind the bar and then redacted. When Dawn came back out, Veach was on the floor being held down by other bar.
Wait. Say that one more time. I'm trying to figure out what could be in between there. Say that really slow, and then what comes after the redacted.
Okay, it said Dawn said she had seen someone swing what she believed was a small axe out of her peripheral view and believed whoever swung the axe hit Veach. She immediately ran back behind the bar, redacted. When Dawn came back out, Veach was on the floor being held down by other bar patrons until law enforcement could arrive.
Okay, so something she did behind the bar is redacted, right, Deirdre?
It sounds like she called the police and
So
they're
why would-
redacting that.
Why would they? Why
would-
would it be
Because
redacted?
she can be an anonymous 911 caller.
But it states that she's the 911 caller on the 911 transcripts.
Yeah. So that makes no sense, right?
She
I
straight
appreciate
up
you,
says-
Deirdre, because you were 911, so you know how this works. But why would the manager of the bar say I need to be anonymous, right? That makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It sounds like a mistake in redaction. Did you guys go over these redactions with?
Yes, they were roots. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I've gone over
No,
them.
we didn't in the meeting though, Kara, because we didn't have it yet, right?
I went over them today with the records department again, and
Today.
yes, and she told me it was Marcy's Law at first, and I said, "How is that possible? This woman's not the victim. It's not Marcy's Law. She's not a victim." So
No, but you
she
can
told
be an anonymous 911 reporter. That's why I'm thinking it's redacted in that particular place. Why they didn't redact it over here, it doesn't make sense. So it sounds like it's just a mistake.
I asked that. I said, "Are you guys sure that this wasn't an accident, like with the computer glitching or anything like that?" And she told me no. And that if she told me why it was redacted, it would defeat the purpose. That was her exact words to me. And I said, well, every redaction has to have a reason, and it has to be in the report, the reason. And she said, no, it doesn't. We do not have to put that. I said, there is a whole page right here that says redaction reasons by page, a redaction log. I said, so I'm pretty sure it does. I don't know. And she's like, well, the financial redactions are wrote down, no problem. So then the next thing that is redacted on here is Detective Wheeler reviewed the CAD history, redacted, came in at 7:42 hours, redacted. Dawn Hill, who redacted a lot, Veach from the bar due to his size, she stated nothing physical, redacted, but indicated there is potential for physical violence. Dawn, redacted, disturbance had become physical and someone was armed with an axe. So this is the 911 call that they're stating because it's not redacted, and I can go to the 911 call and read this to you. But they have it redacted on here.
Do you have the 911 call yet? Have they sent that to you?
Not the audio. I have the transcript.
Are they sending it?
They better. For $1,100. I better get a toothpick if somebody used it.
Well, yes, you sure heck better. So when we meet again, we hopefully we'll live stream again as soon as we get all of the new information that you have paid $1,100 for. And I think we're going to have to start some type of a campaign for you to help you with that cost. Okay. Anybody have anything else for tonight? For Kara, for Deirdre, or myself? Kara, you're brave. You're doing a great job. Jason would be incredibly proud of you, how you are crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, questioning everything, because there are no charges in this case. And you have to do that. Oh, let everybody know what else the captain lieutenant said. What's next steps?
They told me, I told them, because they said about the ME, we had mentioned like, hey, the medical examiner said it was homicide, and I don't remember what they exactly said for us to get onto the subject of it, but I said, I just spoke to the medical examiner and he had told me about how awful of a death Jason had. And I explained all of what the medical examiner had said to him. And he had told me that should be my next step, is to go to the medical examiner and ask them if he would speak on my behalf or on Jason's behalf to the state attorney and see if it would help push anything forward. Which is what I'm going to work on, but you have to get everything together before you could just walk in there. You have to have, show proof that this case needs to be reopened and Jason was the victim, because right now they're pushing it as Jason was not. That is their easy. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. To me, my personal opinion is they're taking the easy way out. And this is their easy way out. That's what they're doing. It's easier for them to make him the aggressor. And I'm not saying he wasn't being aggressive. I do think that. But all these witness statements all say the same thing, with the exception of the two main people involved who have a completely different story, and that's the only one they're going by. Jason was sitting on a bar stool, and Hatchet Man went and got a weapon and assaulted him, and Jason defended himself. You know, again, it states right here in the redacted report that Mike told Keeney that he would be okay if he got behind the bar if something happened. But Keeney didn't do that. He went out and got a weapon and came back in and assaulted somebody with it. So that right there contradicts that he was scared and in danger. He went into danger. This guy told him he would be fine. And I think that's why it's redacted. I think whatever he says right here is what would change the case. I don't know if there's a way you can get these. I'm willing to do whatever. I don't know how you get the unredacted. You can only get it, I guess, through discovery, but you can't go to discovery unless you're in court, right?
Right. No. And here's the other problem. You mentioned to me that there were some witnesses that the detective never followed up with. Correct. We talked about that with the captain and the lieutenant. Yeah. And he said that he would follow up with them because that was some type of a mistake. He said that if the detective did not follow back up with witnesses that you or they had provided him with information, then that was obviously a mistake and that he would be willing to do that. So have you heard any update on that?
I haven't heard anything from him at all.
So we definitely need to follow up on that, because these witnesses, let's chat real briefly. What is it that they have to offer?
They came to me the day after Jason died, or 1 to 2 days after. It's kind of a blur. I think it was the next day. They came to my house and they told me that they had spoke with him, with Michael Beery, and that was the guy that was with Hatchet Man. And he said that they asked him what happened, like, what the hell happened? And he told them, he said, he was such a big guy that I had to put him in a stronghold. And they were like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? And he was like, a chokehold. He was so big, I had to put him in a chokehold and choke him down to get him to stay down. And that's what he had told them. And they came to my house. Like, who does that? They came to my house to tell me that, and the detective had told me, well, if you ever hear him, talking about how, he had choked Jason, that would change the case. And I immediately called the detective and told him about it. And he told me he would follow up with both of them, and he never did.
So we're a year and 2 months out, and they closed the case without following up of two
Correct.
Witnesses who came to your house to tell you something very important.
Correct.
That doesn't sound like an accident to me.
So
have you spoken to your state attorney general?
I haven't, because I haven't got everything. Again, you have to have all the facts to even push it. If I go,
you didn't even have this police report till last week.
Yeah, till 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
2 weeks
I haven't had anything. Again, up until we got the death certificate months after Jason died, they pushed that Jason was a sick man and dying of cancer. To this day, the detective has still never told me that Jason was murdered. It's not even in the report that it's homicide by asphyxia. He didn't even put it in there. He still states that Jason was ill and dying. That's what's in his report. They've never made it out that Jason was the victim. They're making it out.
I have a message to put up for you. It's from Shady Valley Kennels. Yeah. And hi, I'm Jason's mom, and I live in Ohio. I am so proud of Kara for not backing down and continuing to fight for Jason. Thanks to all of you for assisting Kara. You are so welcome. And Mom, we are so sorry for the loss of your dear son in such a violent, horrific way that should have never happened. This should have never happened to you or your family. We are so sorry. And we are honored, as I have said all along, to be representing you and Kara and your family in this fight for justice for Jason. So anything we can do, anytime you need us, please let me know. And yes, we are all very proud of Kara. She is dedicating hours and hours of what needs to be her life as well. And Jason would want her to have a life. He would want her to have some semblance of a good life and have good days and have fun days. But she's fighting for this justice for him. Just as we learned last night, how many hours and how much money Ellen Greenberg's family have been fighting since 2011 for justice for their daughter. And sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to do it because that's why we use the hashtag Just Us, because my mother, when she worked for the Department of Justice in Wisconsin, sometimes I would hear about her cases after they were closed, of course, and I would shake my head at her when I was in high school and say, how do you do this every day? How do you do this every day where people are lying and there's corruption and there's all this crime going on in government and police? And how do you keep doing this? And she'd say, well, we just have to. We have to stand for justice. So she would just say, sometimes it's just us. It's just us against the big establishments. It's just us against the police. It's just us against the government, the crooked criminals, like what Ed Byers is dealing with in Indiana, the other case that we're airing. We have to believe in all of us. We have to group together, and it takes a village. That's a saying that's been around, but it's so true, because look what's happened. Michelle got a new missing flyer. Kara got her police report, because we are a village. Social change warriors, all of you have helped to accomplish that. So we can't thank you enough for those of you that come live, those of you that are on replay, anybody that's helping us retweet, repost on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're helping us spread the word. Please keep doing that. For right now, we have 7 active cases. 10's our limit. I said that in the beginning with Amber, that 10's our limit. I'm kind of shocked that we're close to that we might have to have a waiting list. I would have never in a million years, when I decided to start doing this, that we would have a waiting list. That's something that did not ever cross my mind, because I was just trying to help a few people at a time. But with the addition of Sarah Colleen, which, by the way, she has stepped off the platform. We went long, so we are going to have to reschedule with her. I've been texting with her. We're so sorry if you're still watching, Sarah, and any of her family or friends that came tonight. We were expecting her to go first, but that didn't work out that way because of Michelle's schedule with her child. So we're apologizing that we've gone long, and we will have Sarah Colleen back as soon as possible to tell us about the just terrifying journey that she was on with a person who was domestic violence and hurt her and caused her a lot of pain. And this person is still stalking her to this day. Gratefully, he is currently in custody. We're waiting to hear more about what happens. He has a court hearing next week on the 31st. So she has invited me to be her social work advocate and be in the Zoom for this. So I will be there in the Zoom, and then her and I will schedule something to tell you about her journey and the current case against him. He breaks the law about every 5 minutes, apparently. I tried to put together a case deck, and it's mind-boggling. His first arrest was when he was 17 in 2001, and he's been violating and committing crimes and going to jail and getting out and going to jail and getting out all the way through since 2001. So it's really quite unbelievable. And her time with him was horrific. She does have a child with him, which has made it extra difficult. Broken the restraining order, as far as I could see from all the documents, and she's not here now to help me with that, but 9 times, I believe, he has violated the restraining order. So he's gone back to jail for a violation of a restraining order 9 times. But I think he pled to a couple of those. I still have so much to read. And Deirdre, we have so much to read. We just learned of her plight. We met because we're all following the Karen Reed case. If those of you don't know about that, we are going to be coming back tomorrow night to talk about the witnesses, Chris and Julie Elbert, and give our own opinions on if they were evasive, if they lied, or if they told the truth. That's what we're doing. We're going over all the testimony on Friday night lies instead of Friday night lights. High school football is now over for the season, so we're into Friday night lies. And we hope you can join us if you are following the Karen Reed trial and the death of John O'Keefe, because we are standing for him as well. He's a victim. We just don't believe we know who unalived him. Most of us that are following this case do not believe that she hit him with her car. And that's why we're following the case, because we believe the wrong person has been arrested and is on trial. First trial was a hung jury. And the next trial is not till April, unless somebody comes out and admits the truth. as far as we know, there will be a trial, but it could get pushed. We don't know. It could be June, July. So we're just going to go over witness testimony from the first trial on select Friday nights because it's interesting, number one. And it's interesting to point out for people that don't see what a lot of us who have been in court see or have been trained to look for lies. There are tells. There are tells when you lie. So for those of you that like to lie, let me tell you, it's not an easy thing to do. Lying causes tells because our natural, nice, good side doesn't want to lie. So when you lie, there are tells. And Deirdre, you can agree with me on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you think of any?
Well, I think the most common that everybody knows of is when your head is shaking in the opposite direction of what you're saying. So if you're saying a positive and you're shaking your head no, you're lying. If you're saying a negative and you shake your head yes, you're lying.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other big tells is that when a person lies, the body doesn't like that because that's contradictory to what you should be doing. So you get very thirsty. Cotton mouth, just boom, you get out. You can get cotton mouth when you're nervous too, of course. But see, I don't buy it that those police officers were nervous because they have to go to court a lot. They testify a lot in court. They're not nervous. It's their job. They're professionals. A couple of the police officers, and we'll get to their testimony in the coming weeks, were drinking gallons of water. It was like the first tell for me. I'm like, whoa. As soon as he would tell what I thought was a lie, because it didn't sound right, it didn't make sense. It wasn't the 1 + 1 = 2 rule. He's juggling, he's drinking that water. So and we'll point that out. And there was also head shaking with this person too, this particular lieutenant. But again, this is their job. They go to court a lot. They have to get called to court quite often. So they shouldn't be that nervous. And if you're coming to tell the truth, you're not nervous, right? Because you're coming to tell your truth. And if you're not preparing to be evasive or preparing to lie, you wouldn't have any reason to be. Of course, naturally, you might be a little nervous because you're on the hot seat. You're in front of a judge and you know it's going to be televised. So I don't have a problem with some nerves, some cotton mouth, but these signs that are so obvious to what Deirdre and I were trained as police officers to detect are so obvious in this case. And I've had some silly waste of time arguments with people on Twitter X and Facebook who believe that Karen Read is guilty. And I've tried to give them my reasoning why I don't believe she is, and they don't want to hear it. So I'm just going to tell all of you, stop wasting your time arguing with people on social media because they're never going to change their mind. They are dead set on Karen Read did it, and then everybody else is dead set on she didn't do it. So all of you, unless you really enjoy this squabbling back and forth on Twitter X and on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're doing it, stop it now, please. I've wasted too much of my time that I can't get back arguing with so many people. And then some of these people are just downright nasty. They come at you and they call you names. And I've been called a grifter. I mean, grifting. How am I grifting? I haven't taken one donation. I haven't taken one paycheck. I've spent money on Free Karen Read. Amber and I went to a print shop when I was home last summer, and we made posters and signs. I think I put my receipt up because this person wouldn't let it alone. So I put up my receipt showing how much money I've spent so far on Free Karen Read to help out with the cause. So it does get to be quite frustrating. So I just want you all to be very aware. Speak your truth, but hang with the people right now that agree with you. Quit trying to antagonize the anti-Karen Read on all of these sites because you're never going to win with these people. They are dead set on the fact that she hit John O'Keefe with her car, which most of us don't believe because the science doesn't agree. Okay, it's number one, the science doesn't agree. Let's not even go into the rest of it. So we've got Kara hooked on this case now, which is good because she needs a break from fighting for her husband, and it's good. So now I think, do I have you hooked on this case now, Kara?
I am. I gotta do my own. I'm still sitting on the fence. I gotta see more.
Yes, it's okay. So when you come on Fridays, we'll just keep on showing you the liometer because we gave Ellen Greenberg's fiance a liometer last night, and I'm going to find one that I can make a graphic of, and I'm going to put it up for you guys the next time we live with Ellen Greenberg because the liometer was going crazy last night, wasn't it, Deirdre?
Oh yeah.
And I can guarantee you the liometer is going to go off tomorrow night too with Chris and Julie Elbert. That's going to be quite something for most of you that don't believe that there was any lying or evasiveness. So, and Katie McLaughlin, last week, by the way, for those of you that are curious, and I'll talk about this tomorrow night, Katie McLaughlin's lyometer wasn't too terrible, but it was there. She was evasive. And when I put up the poll on Twitter X, it was, I believe it was the evasive was almost tied with the straight out lie. And there were 7% that said she didn't lie. So we do know who those people are, because if you don't think Katie was evasive, or at least was evasive, you just think she 100% told the truth, you are drinking tea, and you did not watch the trial, or you didn't come to our live show, and you're just hell-bent on the fact that not one witness lied for the prosecution. Right. And I can't help you with that. So hi, Bill Cooper, have not met you before. Volusia County is notorious for, is that
spoliation.
Spoliation of evidence. Oh yeah, and destruction. I haven't seen that term in a long time, Bill Cooper. You must have been a cop or a lawyer, right? And destruction of video evidence. I know this through first. Oh, well, thank you, Bill Cooper. We really appreciate you. Kara, that's not good. I mean, that's concerning, right?
That's what I just said. Great.
Mm-hmm. Kara, I need to see so much more of what you have.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to see the timelines and stuff.
Okay.
It's hard to do it on the fly.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm really interested in a lot of what was done.
Yeah.
I think I
emailed you a timeline late today. You might not have gotten it. It was a Google Doc that Kara had shared with me.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm gonna update it. My sister actually just texted me and said, "Don't forget to send me the updated timeline," and I will. Okay. So that it can be sent, and I'll send you anything. Send her any reports, the Emmy, everything like that, because it just it doesn't make sense.
Well, Bill Cooper says, no, ma'am. Well, thank you for calling me ma'am. I appreciate it. I'm just a victim, and we are incredibly sorry for that and have done a lot of research. Well, thank you. We appreciate your help. If you are willing to come to the next live we have with Kara, I always put the dates on my Twitter X, on my Facebook page, and also it's just in our library. So if you just go to Social Change Warriors on YouTube, you'll always see our planned lives, and you can click the bell so that it will ring for it. It'll alert you when we're about to go live. But I always put up the reminders on Twitter X as well. And if you're not on there on Facebook, but you can always go to the YouTube channel, and it will show you, like it currently shows that we have a live stream tomorrow night at 8:00. So I'll put up next week's within a couple days, and the next live with Kara, we'll figure out when we want to do that. As soon as we know when she's expecting these body cam and the 911 call, we'll have the next live with Kara as well. So thank you. We appreciate you, Bill Cooper, for coming in and sharing that you have been a victim. It sounds like you probably went through hell because there was video missing. Same thing with the Karen Reed case, lots of video missing with that case as well. That's never a good sign. If that doesn't scream something's wrong, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Anything else for tonight, Kara? Sorry, we went down the rabbit hole there a little bit, but all these cases, they're all important. So much in common. There's such a common thread of all 7 cases, of all the victims we're standing for. There is a common thread of issues with these cases. Otherwise, they would all be solved for the most part.
Shauna's making a good point right here. Could she possibly have been reaching for a weapon? Maybe they thought it best to leave that out. When they were saying if he went behind the bar, he might be safe. It may be because there was a weapon stashed behind there.
Oh, okay, Shauna, that's...
Drunk bar patrons know that, though. I don't know. I think they're cutting out that if Jason walked over, but that's just me. I'm just assuming, I don't know. Again, the 2 people that were most involved were allowed to leave the scene. Like the cops, the Keeney guy left after Jason was attacked or restrained by the other guys. And the Michael Beery guy that choked Jason to death left when the cops got there. They let him leave. They didn't talk to him for 16 days. I think that's really crazy. Have you ever been called to a bar fight and have a dead person on the ground, and the witnesses were allowed to leave? Didn't talk to him for 16 days. 16. That's crazy.
You and I talked about this in the car on the way home. That that to me, so I or did I not ask the captain lieutenant about that?
Yes.
I asked them why there wasn't some type of consequences for these two people who were heavily involved in holding down a man who they knew wasn't breathing, who they knew EMS was giving CPR to, and they just walked away. Didn't stay to be interviewed or
Correct.
didn't stay to see what happened to this person. They left. And I said, and he said, well, it's not like a hit and run. There's no statute for this. I'm like, what do you mean there's no statute? They left the scene of a possible crime. They left the scene of a possible homicide. There has to be something that could have been done with these two individuals. And that should have sparked their spidey senses right away. Because again, if you're not guilty of something, if you didn't do anything wrong, why are you leaving the scene?
Well,
They're a material witness. If nothing else, they're a material witness.
Left. It states the Keeney guy, Hatchet guy, stated, I left because I didn't want to get in trouble for the bar fight. That's what he said. His statement, I left because I didn't want to get in trouble for the bar fight. Why is that? Why would you get in trouble for a bar fight if you didn't start it? Huh. Weird. Mm-hmm. And the Michael Beery guy said that he left because the cops had it under control. Well, the guy was dead. You know, you killed him.
Oh, question, because I haven't read the police report yet. What happened to the hatchet?
They have it in evidence. It's in evidence, unless they gave it back. It's in evidence.
Does he have any injuries from the hatchet on the
Jason?
ME report? Mm-hmm.
I spoke to the ME, and he states that he's covered in injuries, but he said the ME said that none of them matched up to a hatchet. But the Keeney guy openly admits in his statement that he hit Jason with the hatchet.
Yeah, you read that and not just, there were two witnesses that thought they saw that, right?
Yeah, but one. The guy that had the hatchet stated that when Jason grabbed him, he hit him with it. So I don't know how that works. The ME said that the injuries on Jason do not add up to a hatchet, but he was definitely hit. That's what he said. His exact words. They don't match up with a hatchet, but he was definitely hit. He was
could
hit
have been the handle. It could have possibly been.
Well, that's what he said. He
hit him sideways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Dawn, the same person that has all the redacted statements, talked to 4 different cops, and all of them are around the same thing, that he got the hatchet. One of them says he slapped him across the face with it. The other one states that he swung it at him. Another guy says that he put it to Jason's throat. And the guy that with the hatchet said that he said he slammed it on the bar and told Jason he had to be quiet and get out. Which, again, if you're in fear of your life, why do you confront somebody with a weapon? He said that he just slammed it on the bar. So that's the story that the detective went with.
So the other witnesses said that they thought for sure that Jason was struck with some part of the hatchet. Now that's assault with a deadly weapon.
It's stand your ground. You don't have to retreat, and it's self-defense. That's what
it's not stand your ground yet, though. This is what remember, I was confused by this because I've lived in Florida off and on for many years, but I don't really understand stand your ground that well. So I asked the captain lieutenant. He said stand your ground doesn't come into play until you're charged with something, and then your defense, that's your defense. At the time, he's not thinking, oh, let me do this. This is going to be stand my ground. He's in the heat of the moment. He's in a bar fight. That's assault with a deadly weapon at that moment because Jason didn't have a weapon.
I think it can kind of be both. I think the police can make the determination that somebody had the right to and did in fact stand their ground.
Yeah, they're saying that he doesn't have to retreat.
But stand your ground says you have to meet fire with fire. Jason didn't have a weapon.
He was sitting on a bar stool.
Come again?
I said he was sitting on a bar stool. He wasn't even attacking people. He was sitting on a bar stool.
But the hatchet wasn't the mode of death anyway, so that's kind of...
Correct. That's what they're saying. It's not what killed him, so therefore it doesn't matter. And I told him, I said, well, why isn't he charged with assault with a deadly weapon? They said, because your husband didn't survive to press charges. I said, well, I'm alive, and on his behalf, I want to press charges. And they said, you cannot do that. I said, that's bullshit. What he
How
did.
do other people that are, how are other people that are unalived get charges pressed? How does that work? How is Ellen Greenberg going to get charges pressed? How is Suzanne Morphew out in Colorado going to get charges pressed? They're all passed away. So that is absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
By that standard, you can never be, if someone's unalived and AR'd or SA'd at the same time, you wouldn't be able to press the SA part because they're not alive to testify to that part of the crime.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard him say it. I was there. I lost my temper for a few minutes, didn't I, Kara?
Yes, he did.
I had given Kara the little lecture in the car. Now let's be calm. Let's be respectful. Let's not lose our temper if they say something that sounds completely off the cuff or completely out of space. And I did pretty good for a while, though. I have to say, Kara did great the whole time, but I completely went off when they told me that when their answer was, it's Florida. When I said, how in the world is anyone allowed to walk into a public restaurant or a public bar carrying a hatchet and not get some type of citation or get arrested? And their answer was, this is Florida. You're not in Wisconsin anymore, Dorothy, basically. I was really pissed, and I had to do everything I could to maintain not losing my temper. And then when they said these statements, I kind of clapped back, and I got a little bit, snotty with them because it's just frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
Your sister says, and honestly, I think it boils down to whether or not the state attorney believes they can win the case.
That's exactly
Yeah.
It's always the case.
That is always the case. That's why Suzanne Morphew's husband was released, because they hadn't found her yet. So they did not have her body, and they didn't have enough. They felt they had evidence in the home, but they didn't feel they had enough to be able to sway a jury. And if they don't feel they can do that, then they will not prosecute. That is how it works in America, which is again why the Karen Read case just still blows my mind that it went through the grand jury and they still decided to go forward with her case. It's just the things that go on in our country just makes me just sick.
It almost seems like another case of them actively trying to thwart their own investigation, because it goes back to that moment in time when that female officer was told to go look at him. He shouldn't be driving.
100%.
I think everything else that transpired after that is to cover that up.
I agree. That's why they're keeping him as the aggressor. That 100% what I agree with. I think that they don't want to be held accountable for anything. So it's easier to make him out to be the bad guy because he was acting like a retard and being an idiot and yelling. But the witnesses state when the guy assaulted him, the only thing Jason was doing was sitting down on a bar stool, slamming his hands on the bar. But then Michael, the other guy, said that Jason poked him in the arm and said he poked him in the arm. But the detective told me that Jason had punched him. So he told me a completely different thing than what had happened. He made it worse when he told me about it. Well, your husband had punched him in the arm and said he was going to fight him. But in the statement, it says that Jason poked him in the arm. But again, sitting at the bar with it, slamming his hand on the bar for not being served. And that guy got up and got a hatchet. So they're keeping it as Jason was the aggressor. He was being the one that was bad. Yelling in a bar. I'm practically almost yelling right now. Sorry, I'm going to go down an octave.
You're okay. You're okay. You're allowed.
That if they show at all that he approached Jason, then Jason's no longer the aggressor. So they are trying to keep it at that. That's why in the final report, if you read them, all the witnesses state, the ones that saw it, he went and got it and he went to Jason. But in the final report, it just says that, he had it on him already. He slammed it on the bar to tell him to calm down. And then Jason attacked him. That's the only story he goes by. The Michael Beery guy who was sitting directly next to him stated that his friend never had a hatchet at all.
Open carry is different than taking a hatchet and slamming it down and saying, something to him, because that's a threat. That's a threatening move. That's not open carry. You can have a gun on your hip, but you can't wave it around and say, y'all need to shut up or whatever. You can't do that, because now you're brandishing, now you're threatening.
Right.
So that act of slamming the hatchet down.
Either way, yeah. But they're saying he was in fear, so he's allowed to do that. That's what they keep resorting back to. He was in fear of.
Again, if he was in fear, he was at his car. He should have left. That's just 1 + 1 = 2. Oh, I'm so afraid of big Jason. He's 6'4" and 220. Let me run out to my car and come in with a hatchet. That's a good idea. Instead, I could get in my car and drive the heck out of here. That'd be the right idea, right? So none of this makes sense. This is one of the most convoluted, mind-blowing, death investigations. I've never even seen anything like this before, Kara. This is
stand your ground. Stand your ground is in that moment. In that moment, you don't have a duty to retreat, because you're paralyzed right there with the person right in front of you, and you have a right to defend yourself. Stand your ground is not removing yourself from the threat, getting a weapon, and then coming back in.
No.
Well, they're saying right to defend others. And then that's where the next thing in. He was defending other people in the bar, but he also fled the scene. So who are you defending? If you're defending people, or you can't say, oh, I'm so scared. He was scared, so therefore he was allowed to have a hatchet. You're either scared or you're not scared in defending people.
Right. You can't have it both ways. And for whatever reason, the detective in this case has chosen the path of least resistance for all of it. And he's trying to have it both ways. Giving permission for someone to run into a bar with a hatchet, giving permission to stand your ground, giving permission to brandish it when Jason had no weapon, continuing to make Jason the big bad guy because he happens to be tall and bigger than anyone else. It's just really crazy. Let me take 2 seconds. I want to catch up with the chat. Julie says exactly, Kat, that moment that he left to go to his car, changed it from defense to offense and basically battery. Absolutely. In any other state in America, maybe except Massachusetts, right? Those of you that are my Karen readers that are from Massachusetts. I wanted to say that you were complimented. I have to find it now, but you were complimented by your mother-in-law. Again, someone said, I don't remember where it is now, but one of our lovelies in the chat complimented you for being a heck of a daughter-in-law. And then your mother-in-law said, yes, she is. And I put it up a while ago, but I didn't think you saw it because you were deep into the police report. Yeah, Shauna says, except in Massachusetts. Yes, thank you, Paul. Anyway, sorry, that's an inside joke. A few people will get it, and I'll explain it to you guys later. Yeah, that's brandishing. Julie says, yeah, that's brandishing. Yeah, absolutely. And then I just wanted to let you guys know that our friend Sara was waiting. She was curious about your cases. So I had given her the option to just hang out and come in when we were done. But I sent her a message about 30 minutes ago and said, we went long with Michelle. We're going long with Kara, which was always planned. This was something that came up that we were going to add in her story tonight. But I told her, I think it's getting too late. I don't want to see you up this late. Well, unfortunately as well, her daughter is now not well. And Amber can relate to that. Her daughter's running 101 fever. So she says, thank you. I'm sorry, my 6-year-old woke up with a fever. So we will reschedule so that Sara Colleen can tell you her story and what has happened to her in her journey. And we will reconnect with her and reschedule. And you'll see that. I'll make sure put it out on all my socials and our social media socials, and Amber and Annette and Deirdre will retweet and reshare on Facebook, and we'll introduce you to her hopefully one day next week. Let's see, what else do we have from this great conversation here? Remember the movie theater M down? Oh yeah. What was that about, Shauna?
Oh, the popcorn, throwing the popcorn. I remember that case. Yeah.
I don't remember that one. Got that one. And Bill Cooper says Volusia County does not have a very good track record at all. Keep pushing, young ladies. Thank you, Bill. We really appreciate you. We hope we'll see you back again. We will keep pushing, Bill. We're going to keep pushing for all of our victims and their families that we are covering right now, because they all deserve justice and none of them are getting it. So we are going to keep pushing. That's what we do. 14 at once. Okay. I'm not sure.
That's with her
Oh,
domestic.
here we go. Yes, he has 40 violations. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be something else. So we will definitely introduce you guys to her, and we'll figure out what we can do to help her in that area. I know, Deirdre, you had some ideas, and I'll let you share those with her when she comes back on with us. We have some ideas for emergency domestic violence shelters that are underground, because he keeps finding her, and it's very dangerous. This is the most dangerous time is when you first tell your abuser you're leaving them. And that's what we believe exactly what happened to Ellen Greenberg. They found her engagement ring in the bedroom, and they found suitcases packed. She was getting ready to leave, break up with her fiance, move in with her parents, and it all went south. And so we're going to keep pushing that for justice for her. And I believe that what's going on now with our new friend, Sarah Colleen, is that this person is still trying to get power and control over her, even though she has left him and he doesn't have any custody of their daughter. As far as I know, he is still pushing for power and control over her. He just doesn't appear. Now, I know you guys know I talk a lot about rehabilitation. I do believe in rehabilitation. I have witnessed it. I have seen people that have committed crimes completely rehabilitate and live out the rest of their life never committing a crime. But some people cannot be rehabilitated, and then the signs will be there. You'll see it very clearly, very straightforward, that they're probably not going to be rehabilitated. Somebody that's committing crimes since they were 17 and they're still breaking restraining orders and having this many charges against them is probably not going to rehabilitate. It does not look good. And while he's free, he is able to try to find her and cause her harm, and could potentially, as she says, she's in fear for her life, that he will eventually find her and will unalive her. And nobody should have to live like that. Nobody should have to live in fear like that from somebody who's a complete constant reoffender. What is going on in Massachusetts, right? People, you've got Karen Reed, you've got Sandra Birchmore, you've got Just en Route, you've got Enrique. I'm sorry, guys, help me out. Yes, Gonzalez Garcia. There's so much going on. And then there was another person that ended up getting in a car accident, and they didn't find him for hours and hours. And a neighbor found him in a yard just down from his car. And I was like, wait a minute, they supposedly searched the whole area. How is a neighbor finding this person who's unalived because of a car accident, and you didn't find him, and you're the Canton Police Department, and you can't find someone who was ejected from their car, but a neighbor can? There's just so many sketchy, bizarre things that have gone on in Canton and Stoughton, Massachusetts. It's just beyond the pale. And we'll keep covering those situations for you with the Sandra Birchmore, the trial for, I believe, Matthew Farwell is not booked yet. So I think his most recent hearing was canceled and rescheduled. I don't know right now, but there is a standout coming up in February, and I'll keep putting it out on my socials, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night when we come back with Karen Reed tomorrow night. There's a standout coming up in February. So if you're in that Massachusetts area and you can attend that, the advocate Mizzy, who has her own channel now, is going to be helping organize that standout in February. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow night, because Sandra Birchmore needs justice, and more people need to be arrested in that case. If you're not familiar with that case, we'll be doing a live on that again soon too. We talked about Sandra back in the fall, but thankfully at least there's one arrest now. Let's see here. Funny, yesterday they found a man beaten to death in shorts in the snow outside of his car in Eastern Mass, and commented that he looked beaten. No update yet, so we'll see what happens. Unbelievable. Wow. So Shauna is telling us words ensued. The man threw popcorn in it, and the Elio guy shot him, went to trial. He got off. He testified he was scared.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh boy. Wow. Yeah, it's just so much that goes on that you just can't even fathom it. And Julie says it's all in Canton too. Yeah. Between Canton and Stoughton, Massachusetts, there's been so much nefarious behavior going on. And we've also, heard a lot of other things from their council. What is that called again there? It's not a city council. A lot of towns call it the city council. They call it the select.
Board. Yeah.
We had Rita on as a guest back this summer back in the fall, and she told us all about the crazy things going on with the select board and how crazy they behave, and their behavior is so beyond the pale too. They didn't even know Sandra Birchmore's name. She passed away in their own town, and it was ruled an unaliving, that she unalived herself, which is what they've done to Ellen Greenberg. They literally framed her for her own unaliving. They did the same thing with Sandra Birchmore, and that went on for 2 years, where it was ruled an unaliving of herself. Ellen's been going on since 2011. And so this is in your town, and you're on the select board, and you don't know her name. I mean, when I watched that one, I was so mad, I had to turn it off. I couldn't even take it. It was just, the behavior there is so atrocious. They need to get rid of all of them, vote them all out, get a whole new select board to take your town from this complete shit show mess that it is. And same thing in Stoughton. How in the world were they running what was literally some type of an sex ring for underage girls in Stoughton under the noses of their own police department while they were working as police officers? How does this go on for 12 to 14 years? This kind of crime and corruption that's happening in many of our cities across America is unacceptable. People have to get involved. People have to stand up in their communities, like they're standing up in Canton, and all the standouts that they've done there for Sandra, for all of the other victims of these just makes no sense type crimes that have no justice for their victims. It is just incredibly unacceptable. So I don't have any more tonight. Do you have any more tonight, Kara?
I don't think so. I mean, I could go on and say it all over 1,000 times. So.
I know. And you will, because we'll have you back, because we're going to have to read more of the police report, because I want to read it myself next time in advance. Yeah. But I want to read more of the police report to our live stream audience and those that care enough to be here with us live streaming. It really means a lot to us. And we will go over this again, and we will get those body cam and the 911 calls, and we'll play all of those. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you, guys.
Take care of yourself. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Jason's mom, for being with us tonight. Anything you need from me, please let me know. Kara has all my contact info. If you just need to talk mom to mom, I can't even, I try very hard to be an empathetic person, but empathy doesn't come natural for a lot of people. It does for me, which causes me compassion fatigue. But unless you've actually experienced something, your empathy can only go so far. So if I've had a broken leg. So if you had a broken leg, Jason's mom, I would say I have total 100% empathy for you. I know what it feels like to have a broken leg. I don't know what it feels like to lose my child in this manner. Both my sons are still alive. I can have as much empathy as I can. I can have sympathy. What you've gone through and what Kara's gone through is horrific. My grandparents lost their child. My dad died of cancer when he was 41 years old, and it was a quick cancer. He died within 6 months. I know what it feels like to be the daughter of a father who died of cancer. I don't know what it feels like to be the parent of a child who died of cancer. So my grandparents were devastated. I had to watch that back when I was only 19 years old. So I have a lot of empathy. I've had tragic losses in my life for you, but the loss of a child, I don't know that loss. I did have a miscarriage, but that's a different kind of loss. So you have my utmost sympathy. If you need to talk mom to mom, you're always welcome to chat with me. And we'll keep fighting for Jason, for justice for Jason. Yes. That's what we do at Social Change Warriors. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for being in the chat. Deirdre, thank you for everything. You're so intelligent. You're so well spoken. Thank you, Amber, for being in the chat, even on your first night home from the hospital with your sweet little boy. All of our regular Social Change Warriors who have now come on board and continue to support us. I thank you so much. And the families, thank you so much. We got an email again today from Sandy Greenberg thanking us for what we're doing, standing up for Ellen, and that means the world. And I make sure and always tell her that I told her today, we have a big group of people fighting for you, Sandy, and your husband, and we'll keep doing that. So that's all tonight. I'm going to close us out with our new theme song, and we'll have a video to go with that theme song coming up in March, and then we will let you know who our creator is, give him complete and total thank you for his amazing brilliance. So So again, everyone, we'll be back tomorrow night with Free Karen Reed, Friday Night Lies. If you're interested in that case and you want to go over the witness testimony with us, it's a little more lighthearted now. Unfortunately, John O'Keefe has still passed away, but when we go over the witnesses, we try to keep it as lighthearted as we can, and we're trying to be fair. We're not going to accuse them of lying where they didn't lie. We're only looking at it as just outside looking in to their testimony that was broadcast on television. So we're not defaming them. We do not make fun of their looks. We do not make fun of anything they do. We're just simply listening and deciding if we feel that was evasive, it was truth, or it was a lie. That's what our goal is on Friday Night Lies. So I'm going to close this out with a little bit of our song, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. And again, to Kara, thank you. Love you, girl.
God bless.
Our deepest condolences always. And thanks again to everybody that was here live. And thank you to the replay. We appreciate you so much as well.
Hey,
I will go
guys.
All right.
I didn't hear.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heavy wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all.